Kamran Pasha joins us once again on Midnight's Edge in the morning. Good morning, kids. Hope everybody's doing well this morning. It's Wednesday. It's Midnight's Edge in the morning. I'm Tom Connors. With me, as always, is the boss man, Andre. How you doing?
I am doing excellent, and especially today, since we have Kamran Pasha back from a very successful business vacation, from what I understand. And today, I'm very excited to hear all your Disney takes, because we have a lot going on.
Indeed.
It's always a delight, gentlemen, to be on your channel, which I still think is the best channel in the fandom. And so thank you for bringing me on. I've just come back from Bulgaria, where I bought this very lovely mug. So I'm going to be using this one. But yes, it was a great trip. It was a great trip, and it's for a project, which at some point I'll be able to give more details on. But yeah, so this is a lot of exciting stuff happening, and a lot of stuff that isn't what it appears to be is happening. So we're going to jump into that. Yeah.
And how is that for a tease?
So yeah, with that, let's say hello to some people in the chat. We got Fractal Jack, Stephanie Janicek's hanging in here. We got Lindsay. We got Six in the chat. How you doing? We got Joker Voice. We got your Muslim uncle. We got Alex Ashgan. We got SP4H. Gulgo's hanging out here. Mike's hanging out in the chat. He may hop in later. We'll see. But if not, he's at least in the chat showing support. So we always appreciate that. And we got Lord Trinan and so many more. Thank you for being here this morning. We appreciate it. As always, hit that like button if you would, or hit that dislike button if you don't like us.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
But if you do, remember to tell us why in the comments. It's very, very important if you're going to hit that. And also, everyone, we have Kamran here, and he's about to shed a bunch of clarity on the different things. So everyone, hit that like, and also help share the stream right now. Share it far and wide, because YouTube doesn't always do a very good job.
YouTube don't like us.
But it doesn't like anyone who isn't corporate. Yeah. It isn't us in particular. In fact, they like us more than they do some others. But we're still not corporate.
So, we got a super chat already from the one, the only.
Who says, "Hi, gents. Hello, everyone," with the diamond and smiley stickers, and for $10. So thank you so much. And Ralph Mack says for $2 Australian, "I love Tom. I love Andre. I love Kamran. I love," can't believe I'm going to say this, Chicky Noogie. So yeah.
Notice I'm first. No.
I do notice that.
I rate above chicken nuggies. That's a big deal to me.
That's a big win in this book.
Nuggets are Wendy's. Do you guys have Wendy's in Norway?
We do not, but I have tried Wendy's once in my life, and that was way back the first time I was in America, and that would be in the summer of 1995. Okay. And then I spent 1 month in the US with my family, because my father was there on business, and he brought his family along with him, which would be me and my brother and our mother. And then we traveled from New York down to Florida, with particularly extended stops in Virginia and in North Carolina, because that's where the military camps were, Camp Lejeune and what's the other one? Anyway, I forgot the other one. Anyway, Camp Lejeune and the one in North Carolina, in Jacksonville. Yep. And we then also tried the local cuisine along the way. And one of those things was Wendy's, particularly because we don't have it in Norway. And I have to say, of like all the fast food joints that I tried in the US during that trip, I have no idea how Wendy's is now. But in 1995, Wendy's was my favorite.
Well, it depends on the location.
Okay, that's fair enough. But I will say this. I spent 3 years in law school where I had Wendy's every single day for lunch because it was cheap and it was good. So I am a big Wendy's fan.
Yeah, I've had some places that are really good, and I've had some that are shit. And speaking of good, though, we have the one, the only good Script Doctor with us. How you doing, Script?
Hey, Script.
Good morning. Hey, Kamran. Nice to see you, sir.
It's always a pleasure to be on. You came on perfectly at the right moment because we got this really nice super chat that came in that's worthy of answering.
Yes, from Joker Voice.
Yes.
Oh, great prognosticator, Cameron.
Yeah.
In recent episodes of Disney Gallery, Jon Favreau was quite complimentary of KK. Is this playing the part?
I mean, yes, and it's obvious that that's what it has to be. You don't do these battles up front. You have to be incredibly complimentary to each other. In fact, the way the industry works, the more you compliment each other, the more it's fuck you, right? I mean, that's most people aren't talking in praise about each other unless there's a political reason to do so. We're just getting along, doing our business, right? And so I think one of the challenges we have in the fandom is that because of how emotionally agitated we get by some of these politics, we want people to be straightforward and just say the truth, right? But that's not how the system works. You can't survive in the system. Somebody like me who is straightforward and tells the truth, what happens? Disney's like, pack on up and get on out of here, right? I mean, that's what happens. And so Favreau has no choice whatsoever but to praise her incessantly. And the more he praises her, the more it's the kiss of death, in my view.
I would like to point out one little thing before the script chimes in from the Sony leak, during which I went through a crap ton of Amy Pascal's emails, doing all of that glorious Ghostbusters and some other research for you all. And one recurring thing there is that when it was a producer or a writer or something like that that wanted something from her, they praised her to high heavens. I have never seen such sucking up in writing as I have done, as that woman clearly demanded. It was like, oh, Amy, you are so amazing. You're the best exec in town. Everyone loves you. We were talking about you in the office. How amazing you are. I couldn't believe. I was like, what planet are these people living on? Anyway, script, carry on.
Well, I agree with Kamran. I've had to play that game as well, where you just have to, kind of praise or just be complimentary to a person who is above you and competent. But at the same time, it takes me back to an old axiom, which is, be polite to the people underneath you as you're on the way up, because you'll probably have to see them again on the way down. And that's kind of true within Hollywood. And there's kind of like a divide. Like over the years, you kind of learn the people who are honest and straight up with you just through relationships and friendships and business agreements where, they're like saying, he's a great person or she's a great person. Well, I'll recommend them for this or I'll hire them for that. And it's a bit more legit. But then there's other parts where it's like, oh no, this person's like a hot, popular number right now. So we got to get on in their good graces because we want to go with them. And it's a very difficult thing to navigate, especially for someone from the outside coming in. It takes years to figure out. And I think Favreau's just kind of playing that game. He's been in this industry for a long time. He knows the rules, he knows the mechanics, and he knows that whatever ends up happening with Kathleen Kennedy's status at Disney Lucasfilm, he needs to be in a positive light with her, regardless of what outcome is there. And
you got to kiss the boss's ass.
Well, and it even let's say she's not the boss. Let's say that whatever her title is, she's been stripped of power, and he knows that. Let's just say that hypothetically, right? Even then, let's say he believes that she's finished. Let's say that Jon Favreau believes that she is finished, that Kathleen Kennedy is not going to be a factor in the industry or in his life ever again. He still has to praise her. He still has to praise her because everyone is watching him and saying how he treats her, especially if the town believes he's beaten her, is how he's going to treat me one day when he has power. And so if he acts in a way that's seen as ungracious, he's going to make adversaries who have nothing to do with Kathleen Kennedy. People are like, I don't know if I want this guy. Another studio head is going to watch this. If this guy mishandles this, I don't know that I want him coming in and bringing PR drama into my company. He's looking for his career.
No, that's a very good point as well. On top of, I agree with all you guys. I think that's all excellent points. On top of, we don't even know how hands-on Kathleen Kennedy is with stuff, because I've heard several times over that she's more like a satellite mom anyway. She's hardly ever there. And we know John and her have known each other for years. So sure, I'm sure they're friendly, to a point. And even a lot of these people who are...
Well, I'm sure they're friendly to their faces.
Well, right.
All the knives behind their back.
There's there still could be that separation of friendliness in their personal life and in your business life, not seeing eye to eye on certain things, right? Like there's that aspect of it too. But like Script and Cameron are pointing out, when it comes to speaking out in public. The last thing you want to do is badmouth somebody, even if you don't agree with what they're doing in the company. Like, that's what we've seen a lot lately with this mudslinging within the company. We'll get deeper into with Cameron here, especially when we get to the Black Widow side of things, because that's where the unprofessionalism in this entire thing is just,
we're going to talk about that.
Astounding.
It's absolutely astounding, Tom. I've never seen anything like it. The industry hasn't seen something like this in a long time. And so it reveals the agitation within the club. Think that things are not working out the way they planned in this situation.
Yeah. And well, actually I was going to grab that super chat that Andre just accidentally pulled off screen. Speaking of professionalism, we have the fifth profession who says, great to be here, gents. Hello to all. Excited to hear what Cameron has to say. Well, thank you for that.
And my friend Script, I think I'm putting this way. I can't figure out which way.
No, thank you.
Camera left. And then we also have Naked Fame, who says, 12-hour day ahead of me. Hi, bye. Midnight's Edge in the morning in chat. Hi, Tom. Hey, Naked Fame, how you doing? Hopefully you don't work too hard today. And
be sure to check the replay later on. And take it easy.
We already have 850 people watching. It's great.
Yeah, and we want to welcome N. Fierter as well to the to being a member. Thank you for that. And Lord Trinan also chimes in real quick with $5 super chat. Thank you. Says, problem with KK staying in any capacity is that she's a scarecrow. Her presence alone will keep the fans and profits away.
Guys, give me 1 minute. I'm getting an international call I got to deal with. Give me 1 minute.
No problem.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do some super chats in the meantime.
We'll grab some other classic super chats if there was any, because I think we caught up on any of the modern ones. But no, I agree with you, Lord Trinan. This is not a good thing if she is around regardless. There's a lot of people who have said, I don't care what capacity she's in. If she's still there, I'm out.
Yeah,
good analogy, actually.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But yeah, let's do some more classic super chats because I do have them all here now. And we had, after Naked Fame, Mihon said for 50 Swedish krona. He says, Tom goes deep into Shang-Chi. Fellow Scandinavian Andre goes bonkers for teasers. And Assalamu alaikum, Kamran. Hope you liked the cast. And love script. I'll repeat the Assalamu alaikum to Kamran afterwards.
I love it. You've become a character in the 13th Warrior, the Viking that learns how to speak Arabic. I love it.
And I got to correct that. Shang-Chi was a triumph.
Yeah, well, we shall see. We shall see very, very soon.
It's already a triumph, Andre. Just deal with it.
Yeah, well, you know what?
It's going to be a triumph for Bob Chapek's chessmanship. That's what it's going to be.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. That's exactly what I'm thinking. I think the movie is going to be all right. I do not think it's going to be the best thing since sliced bread. To go into Shang-Chi for one moment, Kamran, there is one thing that I actually want to ask you about Shang-Chi, or actually not Shang-Chi directly, because you have the star of Shang-Chi, like Simu Liu or whatever.
Simu Liu.
Yeah, that guy. And basically what he said.
You actually know him?
Yes, I worked with him before, yeah.
Okay. Then we're going to get real insight from you on his character. That's great.
Yeah, awesome. Oh, perfect. I'm glad to have you here. Because I do believe that this what he basically said was that when I grew up, there were no Asian characters in cinema. There were no Asians on TV. And I'm paraphrasing. He didn't use those exact words. I do not have his exact quote in front of me, but it was to the effect of, there's never been any Asians in cinema before. They've all been horribly discriminated against. Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, Jet Li. Yeah, they all happened to other people. Like, he never knew any of those. So, like, this is the first.
They were huge stars. I mean, Bruce Lee is an icon today. Bruce Lee is a living, like, almost a deity to people.
Well, not in the universe, which Simu Liu inhabits, evidently. And the irony is, like he said, like, he didn't, again, not his exact words, but the implication was, this is the first time that we have, like, a huge American blockbuster starring an Asian martial artist. This is unparalleled history. Forget about Bruce Lee and all of those. What happened with the Snake Eyes 1 month ago?
With
Henry Golding.
I don't know. Maybe he's not Asian enough. So look, Script, you know him, so I don't know this gentleman. I will make a comment generally about what I'm hearing. Then I'd love to get your perspective on his character, and I'm sure because you know him, I'm sure you're going to have more insight. I think this is an example of one. It's a generational situation, which I think actors in general are falling into right now that I'm witnessing, and another, it's a gamesmanship. It's a misplaying of what the situation is, which I think, unfortunately, a lot of actors are not aware of the behind the scenes politics. It's not, because they're in front of the scene. They don't always know what's happening. So generally, I think we're facing a situation here in the industry where a lot of actors of this generation have fallen into the trap of this generation, which is that there is no past beyond 2000, beyond 4 years ago, right? There's nothing happened and everything is new and the world is born afresh and it's a way to make yourself relevant, so that instead of saying I'm part of a long lineage of actors and I'm honored to be in that lineage and continue it, you start saying you're the only one, the first one. This is the breakthrough in history, right? Which I think is a pattern culturally right now, which is unfortunate, because forgetting history means you have to learn all the mistakes all over again, which is what we're doing. So that's part of it. It's a generational thing. Part of it is also, I don't think he may be aware of these deeper dynamics of what I believe is happening behind the scenes, because most actors I've known have rarely been aware of those deeper dynamics. And I have great respect for acting as a craft. It's a very hard craft. I've taken acting classes. It's not easy. So people who disrespect actors and say, "Oh, you're just playing pretend for money," you can't do it. Most people can't. I mean, take acting classes. You'll learn how hard it is, right, to be present and be good at it. So with that said, the nature of acting makes you very focused on your situation, right? I, as a writer and director, producer, I have to look at the bigger picture. That's why maybe I'm able to be a prognosticator on some level, because I have to see all the pieces, because I have to write and I put all the characters together. You're focused on your thing. And you're focused on the popular club. Actors tend to want to be popular. That's just part of the psychology that comes with that craft. And so Mr. Feige is the popular group, right? And the perception right now, the external perception based on how the trades and others are trying to create it, is that Bob Chapek is the unpopular guy at the high school, right? He's the unpopular, disliked principal who just came in, right? And so the popular kids, or at least the kids that want to be popular, want to be on the right side of popularity, and Mr. Chapek is on the wrong side of that. So you're going to come out and try to agitate, thinking you're getting the popular crowd on your side, and that I think is what's happening broadly. And Script, I know you know this gentleman, so you may have a much more generous perspective on him, so I'm just sharing my perspective as an observer.
Well, you hit a lot of his character traits, because he is an actor. He's an actor. Here's something that's actually quite specific that maybe not a whole lot of people in Hollywood know about, but Canadian actors have a very different take of regarding the industry and the perception of what an actor is compared to actors from America or the UK or any of that. They try to act, as soon as they get their first play or commercial, they try to act like they are an A-list celebrity, like right off the bat. Even if they haven't made any money. And Simu was very much like that. When I knew him and worked with him for like 9 months, and we were hanging out, we actually talked about favorite martial arts films, because he was going to do a martial arts movie back then. And we went and saw The Raid. That was in theaters. We loved that. We thought it was all really cool. Great acting, great action, stuff like that. And he basically was a fan of those characters. So when I saw his red carpet interview. In his red carpet interview, he said something very specific. He said, it's great to be the first Asian superhero within Marvel as an actor, and that he didn't have that part growing up in live action. But in the Variety article, he says there's no Asian heroes, which is a big difference, because I think he's lying, or he's told by the powers that be at Marvel that this is the advertising means that direction we're going to be heading down. So this is what you're going to say in order to prop up the film. And even as an actor, just because you're finished, shooting the principal photography, you don't stop acting until that movie finishes its theatrical run and finishes its at-home media and everything. Like, you're still, doing whatever the studio says to do to promote that film for however long you need to do it. And that's the situation I think he's in, because he's a pretty affable guy. He's very willing to do stuff as an actor would to get the job done, and he's got the dedication, he's got the skill, and I actually like some of his performances that I've seen. But yeah, like this, he clearly doesn't have the people in his serving his best interest around him, because he's saying very stupid things. There's a lot of opportunities he had where he could be like, listen, I'm like, there's no Asian heroes. Half your cast, your principal cast, are Asian heroes in cinema for decades before you. You got Michelle Yeoh. Like, she got huge in Tomorrow Never Dies, like huge. And then Crouching Tiger escalated that. Like, it's complete ignorance. And I think it has more to do with the fact that he's being told to do this. And just like an actor, because they're so involved with their performance themselves and trying to make sure that they achieve that role, and they don't want to burn any bridges, they will say whatever the producer tells them or the director tells them or the studio head tells them to say when they're on their press tour. And that's what we're going to be hearing. And basically, we're looking at a person who's being denied his own agency, whether he can actually say it or not. Like, he's too young right now in this industry. He's too fresh. I mean, he was with The Characters, which was a very low agency up here in Canada for a while. And as soon as he got Shang-Chi, he got repped by Brian Lord at CAA. That's a huge status leap.
Yeah, I don't know how much longer that's going to last, though. So,
like, yeah, I know.
Will towards him. Yeah,
but again, when an actor gets a huge status leap like that, it goes to their heads. They're terrified of losing the sudden fame and power that comes with that. So they will say whatever they can that they're being told to maintain the status that they have. So it's kind of like it's a double-edged sword. It's kind of tragic, but you're kind of happy for him because he's got some stability and he's got some recognition. But at the same time, how he's handling it is, I would say, irresponsible. And
well, I mean, Script, what you've done is you've bolstered my argument that that these actors are being used as chess pieces in a bigger war, and Absolutely. That includes much bigger actors like Scarlett Johansson. I mean, if Scarlett Johansson can fall into this becoming a chess piece, this gentleman who's just trying to make it is definitely going to fall into the trap of that.
Well, Absolutely. And he does comment on, you know, how things are never going to be the same for him and what it was like on the red carpet and stuff in the same interview. And his actual comments are this. It's a bit long-winded, but he says, it feels like an ancient honor, like we are giving the world something that I never had as a kid, which is the ability to see myself reflected on screen in a meaningful, aspirational, heroic way. There is a certain responsibility that comes with that as well. I don't want to call it pressure, but there is a sense that this is more than just a role that you take, go to work, say lines, and go home. This is a moment in culture, a moment in history, and hopefully it will be followed by many more just like it. Sometimes it gives me a little bit of anxiety knowing that there is this kind of stuff resting on my shoulders. Other times it feels incredibly empowering because I would have given anything to have had somebody when I was younger to look up to and show me what was possible. Again, I
have to say, in a world where we have Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, right, Jet Li, and those are just like the three big ones.
Yeah,
so incredibly
Tony Jaa
others grew up with,
and we just lost last week Sonny Shiba.
Yep, just lost Sonny Shiba last week.
I mean, I can I say the script? I think you're being generous in saying that he's being manipulated by the producers, or he's being guided by the producers. I think some of this is just pure narcissism and immaturity.
Probably is. But he's never spoken that well in his life, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it seems generational. It's like that. It's like what's his face running around, still grumbling about what happened on what Super Friends, Justice League, whatever.
Oh, that guy, Greyborg. Ray Fisher.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, and now it's just becoming this generation of people that will ruin their careers in order to get Twitter likes, which is they're just not able to see beyond this moment. So,
yeah, no, I understand that. Well, I mean, I want to be a little generous because again, he might still have a little bit of that's who I knew he was at that time. But listen, I've had conversations with him, long conversations with him. He's got an accounting background before he went over to acting. He has never spoken that eloquently in his life, as far as I know. So I think either he's got the script
someone helped write
someone has helped him with this.
Yeah, he's definitely giving talking points. Look, I'm going through this right now in my personal life without getting into too much detail. I have a friend of mine who is an actor who's been a struggling actor for many, many years, and I've given him a lot of advice and guidance, and I considered him a close friend. And then he recently got some kind of break, and suddenly he's become he's become a different person. And it's made me reassess my relationship. It's just like, wow, you got a little bit of a break and your head becomes this big. It really shocked me. And it's a little bit of the struggle. We're all, Script, we're all artists. We're struggling, we're getting our asses kicked for years. So the moment we get a break, we do have this moment of exaltation that comes, but but I also think it reveals parts of your character that were hidden away the moment you get the attention. Certainly when I got some attention, some ugly parts of my character came out. Hopefully I've worked through that. But it can be quite surprising to see what's inside of someone that's revealed through fame and wealth.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, I've had that too. I've had to basically like stop midway, and go, what the heck am I doing? Like this, like why am I doing this? And is it outside external influences that are just kind of manipulating you subtly, or is there something deep down? You got to kind of do self-reflection and exploration to that. And
I don't think
you're absolutely right.
Oh yeah. And Maledicito, this is a point I brought up too, because when the initial quote was put out there, a lot of the headlines were, whatever, but like even Script and other people may have pointed out that maybe he just meant superheroes or they misquoted him.
Well, the first one he meant superheroes. The rest of the stuff, he's not doing that.
Even though I said then, it's like, well, then you're kind of disregarding Brandon Lee, who played the Crow, and Brandon Lee's father, Bruce Lee, who was Kato, for fuck's sake. And I know that's not a great amount, but you got to also remember, growing up until the late 90s and early aughts, we didn't have a shit ton of superhero stuff, right? Like there was Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman, and that was about it, really. Like you didn't have a shit ton, and most of that was television oriented, right?
And let's be honest here, Bruce Lee was inherently a superhero in every role he played.
In everything. Enter the Dragon was a huge fucking release for Warner Brothers back in the 70s. Like it was a big deal for them, right? So like, don't tell me that there has never been these big. Like, I remember Jackie Chan being all the fucking rage in the 90s.
Yeah.
Like
I remember him being a huge star in Norway, even.
So this is unfortunate. I think we'll see. I could be proven wrong, but I think Shang-Chi is not going to perform. I don't think it's going to be a profitable movie. I don't think it is ever going to. I don't think it's going to be profitable on ancillaries. I just don't think it's going to work because it was made for a lot of reasons that have nothing to do with actually making a movie that the audience wants. And it was made with a lot of, the current Hollywood racial stereotypes towards China, which I don't. And then they discovered to their shock, China doesn't want this film, right? I think they're about to discover that. Already getting the buzz that the Chinese don't want this film, and they're going to discover that. And that's again this projection of Hollywood's perceptions of Chinese culture onto China, right? And often discomfort where Chinese culture is, and how often blunt it is about who it finds attractive and stuff like that, right? It's we are a very PC culture, and current CCP China ain't PC, right? So they pretty much own what they are, for better and often for worse.
Yeah, and then the other part too, the other reservation I have is, and I have nothing against the writer of this movie personally. I've read a number of his scripts, David Callahan. I've never been impressed with them. I never understood how he gets the work. It's a baffling thing. I'm not the only one in my circle, but he's in the club, and I mean, I was not a fan of Wonder Woman 84. He wrote that under the direction of
that was a bad film. Yeah, I love Wonder Woman, the first film.
That's being nice.
Yeah,
and I don't know how historically accurate this is. Phoenix One. I
think Jackie Chan wasn't.
I don't know if he killed him.
Jackie Chan was in one Bruce Lee film, but
I don't know if he killed him in Enter the Dragon, though. Did he?
I thought it was the Chinese connection.
Yeah, I was going to say, wasn't it the last one or whatever?
But Chan definitely played alongside Lee. He was
one of them, but like, I don't know about that being. I thought he was just goofing around anyway. But no,
someone in the chat who knows Enter the Dragon really well, please answer that.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's the one he was in though. But either way, like my point was going to be, no, I'm one of the few people when the trailer first dropped and all that stuff, I didn't have all the like. I was like, oh, I'm willing to give this movie a chance. I mean, Andre will back me up on that one. I was one of the only ones who was like, yeah, give me some kung fu. And did he really, Stephen Otten? Was it in Enter the Dragon though, or was it the other one? See, I always fuck up the names.
People are saying it was Enter the Dragon. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, it's interesting because Jackie Chan very, very much doesn't want to play a villain in his movies. Like that's kind of like one of his stipulations. So.
Oh yeah, but as someone said in the chat, getting killed, if that's what happened though, but getting killed by Bruce Lee is an honor.
Yeah,
Jackie Chan got killed by Bruce Lee. Yes, the other way around. I was thinking, oh, okay, never mind. Yeah, I was like, wait a minute.
I told you guys heard my story of how the time that the studio wanted to do a Bruce Lee deep fake movie, right, with Will Smith, and I pitched this one.
Yeah, but do say it one more time, so for the shock and horror of everyone who's listening.
Okay,
so
that's right. Ago, okay, I was flipping it around in my head for some reason.
Thug in prison at the time. So yeah, I'll make it very brief, but it's some years ago with the de-aging technology was really being advanced. I was approached to potentially write a studio film that was going to resurrect Bruce Lee using that technology. Essentially, they get an actor to do his moves, and then they would put the face on him. And they were going to do it with Will Smith, and they needed the right take. And so I came in with this. This would have been huge for my career. I was like, oh my god, yeah, I want to do this. And
I want this movie now.
So I came in with this incredible take of Bruce Lee, who's essentially a ghost, is like Force Yoda, coming from the other side to help Will Smith, who discovers that he is part of a lineage of masters that Bruce Lee was part of, and that every master was supposed to pass on his knowledge to the child of the next generation, and then Bruce Lee was killed before he could pass it on to young, childhood, Will Smith. And now Bruce Lee comes back as a Force ghost essentially, and guides Will Smith from the other side to become this hero and essentially to avenge his death, which, his death is very mysterious. There's the official story. And then there's a lot of people think that Tongs and other nefarious characters in Hong Kong were involved in it. And so the idea is that it was an evil, dark dragon cult that killed Bruce Lee, really, and then put the official story out. And then he would avenge him. And it was a very serious, very respectful film that would try to bring, closure to the story of what happened to Bruce Lee. And then when I pitched it, the studio executive was sitting there and going, and goes, yeah, we don't want to do that. Said, we're looking to do a buddy comedy. We want Bruce Lee as the butt of the joke.
Oh, I wouldn't do that. But the only joke you would have to have in there with if it was, Will Smith, he'd have to say, "You are a prince, and you are the freshest prince."
I would use that line and credit you for it. This was Tom's line. It wasn't. But yes, no, and that was one of the moments where I didn't do what Jon Favreau does, which is Favreau would be like, "Boss, that's brilliant. Get the gig and then do what he wanted to do with it, right?" And use his political manipulations to get the version of the movie that he wants out. I said to the exec, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You're going to get laughed out of this town. You're going to end your career if you try to make that movie.
How did he take to that honesty?
The meeting ended right there, and I was asked to move on. I was asked to
exit.
Leave.
Yeah, you were invited to promptly leave the premises. Is that
thank you very much? And with the way out. Thank you. Literally, it ended at that moment. He couldn't believe I said that to his face. I said, "You're going to end your career if you try that." So whatever. But it was offensive to me because it was coming from that Hollywood racism that we're talking about, that Bruce Lee himself experienced. That's why he went to Hong Kong, because he experienced all this racism and disrespect when he was becoming a respected and beloved actor in America, even with a role like Kato, which is the sidekick, right? And yet he had things like his idea for Kung Fu was stolen and essentially given to David Carradine, right? And he's like, what? And he's like, I'm done with this town. And then he went to Hong Kong where he created his legend. So that, and to see that yet again, that kind of disrespect, that kind of cheap racism, make him the butt of the joke. I was like, this guy's an icon, all over the world. People see him as a spiritual figure. It's you can't do this. And I was so shocked and offended. I had to say it. I knew what was going to happen. I was like, you're going to be out, right? But I had to say it. And I promise you that exec's never going to forget me. He's never going to hire me, but he's never going to forget me.
Yeah, well, hopefully he'll remember that guy. He gave me some sound advice. Didn't like how he said it.
In the very least, at least we didn't get that movie either, then, Steve, because you're right. No, that would be totally the wrong way to go with it. I get it. I think in real life, Bruce Lee probably wouldn't have had a problem with the way he was portrayed in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but he definitely would have had a problem with something like that. He would have totally been against being. Yeah,
we would have been the court jester in the Will Smith movie. Yeah, that's not what his job was. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's completely disrespectful. But moving on here, we have some hard questions here. Koran Witch and Residence wonders, hey Kamran, now for the hard questions. How was the Sharma you got last Toxic Femininity?
I've had the great pleasure of recently interacting with Koran, and we're going to hopefully have a call later today, just to chat. But yes, I came on Toxic Femme, which I was just walking by. I saw them talking. I saw these beautiful ladies. I was like, let me call in, and very graciously brought me on. I was shopping for chicken shawarma at my favorite Mediterranean place here, and it was very good. Although the neighborhood was quite shady, and I needed to get out of there as quickly as possible.
Nice, nice. And Pilgrim Media says, thank you, gentlemen, for the truth nuggets. Yes, indeed, there have been some, and I'm sure there will be plenty more by the time we are done. So everyone stay tuned and smash that like for truth nuggets, and help share the stream.
And chicky nuggets.
And HyperGuyver2 says, good afternoon, Andre, Tom, and Kamran. I'm so glad we have this on screen. Are you guys ready for more Disney dickery? Yeah, of course. But script wasn't on by the time when this was sent.
Okay.
We're a little bit behind. Oh, yeah. But here we have, of course, Stephen Otten, who we love for including everyone. And he says, hail, Andre, Tom, Kamran, script, wrenches, and chat. Yes, indeed. So hail to everyone here on the panel. Hail to the wrenches who makes the chat an awesome place to be. And thanks to everyone in the chat for being here and making it all awesome. And then Dash Attack says, Kamran, why does Spider-Man look 100 times more exciting than all of Disney's recent and current projects? Because of Sony? Nostalgia? Yeah, let's get into that real quick before we continue the Disney shenanigans. What do you think of the Spider-Man trailer?
I think you answered it. I mean, I think Sony still has influence over where this thing is going, right? And so it feels like one of the good movies that we've missed in a while, right? And so yes, I think it's again because there's a lot of internal dynamic problems inside of Disney and now inside of Marvel and inside the relationship between those two entities, and so it's spilling over into the work and our perception of the work, which I don't think is happening right now with Spider-Man. So thank God for that.
Yeah.
I also think John Watts has a little bit to play in there as well. He's been directing all of the films so far. Whether you are like them or not, they're still relatively successful. So he's kind of like the Spider-Man shepherd at this point, who's, I guess, balancing the scales between Marvel, Disney, and Sony in order to try and get a satisfying film for everyone.
Yeah.
And then Golgo13 says...
I was going to say on the Spider-Man note, though, because I know a lot of people were watching Gary and Az talk about it yesterday, and those guys were on the right path. We did a video almost over a year ago or whatever, maybe more than that, where we talk about the whole reason why the characters are so different in the MCU incarnation of Spider-Man. And I know people are real quick to say, oh, fuck Disney and Sony's the answer, but Sony is the reason why they have to have the quote-unquote 25% different characters.
Yeah, this is true. And very, very quick, the reason for that, it's not actually a 25% different situation. It's a matter of what happens in a case of breakup between Sony and Marvel. Because remember, that deal is time sensitive. And this was one thing that we learned from the Sony hack. That they operate with 3 categories of characters. One are categories that belong to either Sony or Marvel. One are categories, or another is characters that both can use different incarnations of. They're the ones that have to be 25% different. And then you have characters that for some reason are just frozen and can't be used by either. If Sony had agreed to let Marvel use the classic iterations of the character, classic Mary Jane, classic everyone, and then the deal ended, those characters would all end up being frozen, meaning neither Marvel nor Sony would be able to use them for future movies, which is why they then invented these brand new characters that were kind of like the classic characters, but not quite. That's why that's why you get like this new MJ who isn't Mary Jane Watson, because then that is the incarnation that will be frozen in case of a breakup.
Yeah.
Yes, and then moving on with a couple of more super chats before.
Well, it does need to be noted though that was pre New Deal though. You guys,
that was pre New Deal. That was pre New Deal.
There is a New Deal now in place.
May have changed with yes.
Yeah, and that's where I think things have changed to the point where they can bring in the older versions of the characters. Like this is going to be a deal that probably goes on for a while, even though I think initially Tom Holland only has like 2 more movies on his contract, but it'll still get extended, I bet. So, and Morbius is supposedly tying really tightly in with Spider-Man. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot going on there.
Well, it's certainly tying in with Venom. I don't know how.
Well, no, there's stuff that ties in with Spider-Man because Michael Keaton's supposed to be in it, and they got Spider-Man in the background on that Muriel.
Yeah.
So anyway, Golgo13 sent us a super chat, and you were about to read it. So there you go.
Yes, he says, Andre, Tom, Kamran, and Script. I have enjoyed the Disney Poop Show. Your thoughts on Star Wars Visions? I love anime. Salam, and may God bless us all. Script and Kamran, have you seen the trailer for Star Wars Visions, and what did you think about it?
I have not, so I'm going to defer to Script if he has a perspective.
Script.
I did see it, and I got flashbacks, not good flashbacks, to the Gotham Knight anime that was released shortly after Batman Begins, before the Dark Knight film came out, if I remember correctly. I love anime as an art style. I think it's great. Anime out of Japan has got amazing stories, very different structure to Western stories, but fun nonetheless. I just don't always like the anime interpretations of Western characters. Sometimes they just go far too crazy, lack of discipline. The whole rule of cool supersedes everything else with regards to storytelling. I think it'll probably be a visual spectacle that people really like, but I don't know how much the stories itself are really going to resonate with anyone on the same level, or at least in a closer degree to the original trilogy, or for the fans of the prequels, or what have you. I don't know at that point. It didn't really sell me much. It just brought me back to, I'm going to see a bunch of short films done by individual anime studios with fantastic art, but probably not going to have the substance that I'm really going to want in order to recommend this to friends.
Well, there you go. And then, just before we continue with the Black Widow story, Mexican Iron Man says for $30, thank you so much, brother. Assalamu alaikum, gents. One was last week's rumor a preemptive softball strike for last night's show. Hold that thought, because we're going to get into that a little bit later on. And two, Kamran, thank you for a great ending to your great book. I'm starting Mother next. Greetings from Brother Mike.
Walaikum salam, Mexican Iron Man. He's a wonderful friend and a fan and a supporter of the channel, of me personally. And so, yes, so I think we're going to go in depth into answering your first question. The second question is, I love the fact that you've read my books and that you've enjoyed them. It means a lot to me as an artist, as Script, as a writer as well. So when anyone actually reads our work and responds to it as you have, it really is very touching to us. So thank you.
Yeah, it's a big mission accomplished, actually. And those are hard to come by when you're a writer.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, indeed, indeed. And then we have more super chats. We're going to get through them all, but for right now, we only have Kamran for so long.
About another hour.
Yeah, exactly. And the time tends to fly here. So let us start getting into one of the two major Disney-themed stories here. The other being Kathleen Kennedy, which we'll get into afterwards. But before then, Scarjo and the Scarjo lawsuit. We have a couple of developments that we've had there since the last time you were on. Now, Tom, if you can bring up the Hollywood Reporter article on screen first.
Yes, I can do that. Here you go.
Perfect, because here then is the industry that are going through what is happening with the lawsuit. And this then is from August 21st, so just before the weekend. Disney makes first move in Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow suit. And the byline reads, pushing for arbitration. Disney's lawyers update the movie's box office and streaming take, saying it has outgrossed some other Marvel films with an impressive pandemic-era showing. However, that is not the main takeaway here. The article goes through the lawsuit, which basically is that Scarlett Johansson is suing Disney for what her camp claims is breach of contract over Disney putting Black Widow simultaneously on Disney Plus Premier Access as the theatrical release, which they thought was really, really nasty and bad. And then Disney responded back in which they outed Scarjo's salary, which they claim was extremely misogynistic. This is something that is repeated several times in this article, how misogynistic Disney was towards poor Scarlett Johansson. And then the undergoing theme here is that Johansson's camp, they are horrified. Why are Disney trying to push this into arbitration? What are they trying to hide? This should be in a public lawsuit, in a public court, available for everyone. Why are Disney trying to push for arbitration? That is the undercurrent of this article.
Yeah.
Kamran, your thoughts on this?
Well, this is more proof that this whole thing is a PR operation, because I think Script will agree, the majority of my contracts, in fact, all of my contracts have an arbitration clause. They don't want to go to court. You know, Hollywood wants to keep all of its dirty laundry private. And so all of my contracts have an arbitration clause. All of them do. Right. Yep. And so this everything that Scarlett Johansson's camp has done here has been to upset the normal Hollywood cart. And it's not for money reasons, because if it was for money reasons, this would have been resolved in a 5-minute phone call from Brian Lord to Bob Chapek saying, look, she's really upset about this. You don't want her creating any kind of drama. And he'd be like, okay, here's a lot of money and we're done. Right. That's how it would have been resolved if this was about money. And I'm sure Bob Chapek was enraged when he first heard a lawsuit land into the legal affairs department at Disney. And he's like, what the hell is this? I'm sure he called Lord. And then everything we're seeing since then is PR stuff like this. Like, it's all meant to manipulate the public, right? This is, oh, look at them hiding the thing. I have no doubt that her contract says it would go to arbitration. So they violated that contract. I'm sure that Ms. Johansson's team they read the contract. She has good lawyers, and they knew what they were doing. Instead of going through with arbitration, which would have been the second thing to do, let's say that they'd actually called Bob Chapek and said, please give my client more money so she doesn't create drama. She's upset about how this played out. Then that would have resolved it. But let's say that Bob Chapek wasn't being, willing to facilitate that. Then the next step would have been to go to arbitration per the contract, right? And then quietly resolve all of this stuff. That it would have gotten out that there's some dispute, but it wouldn't have been this massive public debacle that it's been. But they didn't do that. They filed in court, which meant that they were not attempting to actually resolve this issue. They were attempting, Scarlett Johansson's team was attempting to create a public relations drama around Disney and Bob Chapek, which doesn't make sense from a career point of view for someone like Scarlett Johansson. She is the highest paid actress right now in Hollywood, but she's also, time is moving along and other young actresses are coming, right? And that's the injustice that happens to women in this town. They hit their mid-30s. The roles start slowing down, even for top actresses, and they start getting the Driving Miss Daisy stuff starts showing up on their door, right?
Yeah, they're being the moms.
Exactly. There's an actress once said there's 3 roles for women in this town. There's the hot ingenue, there's the district attorney when you hit your 30s, and then there's Driving Miss Daisy when you're grandma. Those are your 3 roles, right? And so Scarlett Johansson is aging out of the hot ingenue thing. That's reality, even though I still think she's incredibly lovely. And so it's not smart from a career point of view to be doing this drama. So I don't believe this is coming from her. I believe this is part of a bigger power play that is about Kevin Feige and now CAA, which is the club. Which is the club in its most powerful form right now. The club is saying, who the hell is this Bob Chapek guy coming in, changing things around us? We're going to use our biggest asset, our highest paid actress. We're going to use her as a chess piece to publicly humiliate him and maybe get him ousted. Because I think it's actually about ousting him at this point, this kind of nonsense. And I think Ms. Johansson is like we're talking about the gentleman from Shang-Chi. She's just an actress going along with her team. This isn't smart from a career point of view. And she's not looking down the future and thinking, what happens if Bob Chapek wins this and my buddy Kevin Feige, moves along? What happens then? What happens if there's an internal shakeup at CAA and Brian Lord becomes chairman emeritus, right? Like Miss Kennedy, right? What happens if he loses his power? Because if you go against the king, you can't miss. And I think they're going to miss on this, right? The way they've handled it is they're going to miss. These are the actions of an angry club that doesn't like this guy showing up. These actions of an angry club doesn't like this guy showing up and messing the great situation they have for themselves, right? Because he's trying to get it back to profitability. He's trying to answer the shareholders rather than the cocktail party club, of which he never was part of. He was always this guy working with toys and consumer stuff and parks that wasn't sexy stuff for the Hollywood crowd, right? He was never invited to those parties. And suddenly he comes, because when Bob Chapek was hired, I was like, who the hell is this guy? I never heard of him. I've been here 20 years. I worked at Disney. I never heard of this guy, right? And because he wasn't interacting within the Hollywood system of the club. And so now he's come in, and so they are making war on him, and they're using Scarlett Johansson, and it's not going to play out well for anybody, who's fighting Chapek, in my opinion, and it's not going to play out well for Ms. Johansson. And I don't know that she will get that message until the chessboard goes against her, which I think is coming.
I'd also point out that with arbitration, it rarely goes in favor of the talent that's making the challenge.
That's why they use it.
That's why they use. Yeah, I've lost credits for like complete rewrites for an arbitration, just because whoever's picked as the arbiters usually favor whoever's on the side of the studio. So it's it's not always I look at this, I'm just thinking, well, sorry, Scarjo. Sorry for being a pawn in this situation. It's not going to go the way you want.
Which is exactly what she is. She has again, part of it is the popularity thing, because the club is angling everyone, including Mr. Lee in Shang-Chi. He's telling everybody, this Bob Chapek, he's not cool. He's coming. What he's doing is uncool. That's a phrase I've often seen when the club gets agitated. It's uncool because he's not in the cool club, and we're the cool club, and all actors want to be the cool club. So they are rising up against who they see as someone coming in, the uncool principal, messing up the party. Right? This is not one of these John Hughes movies from the 80s, like The Breakfast Club, where you're gonna outsmart the principal. It's not how it's gonna play out, right? And so that's what we're about to witness.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. Before we move on, tell us a little bit about arbitration, because we have almost 1,700 watching now. Everyone smash that like. You are getting some genuine business Hollywood insight here. So smash the like for that. Yeah, Mr. Tickledrunk points out, only 515 likes. Come on, smash that like button. Get us up to 1,000 at least. And with that, Kamran and Script, tell us, what is arbitration in reality? Because we keep on hearing that word. We've often used it in our videos. But to those that may not be in the know, what's the difference between arbitration and like a regular lawsuit? And who presides over the outcome?
Well, I'm a former attorney. I haven't practiced in a very long time, and I have no interest in going back to that world. But arbitration is a more informal kind of dispute resolution system that exists, where basically the parties agree that we're not going to go to the formalized government court system. We're going to work within this system where certain judges are chosen. Often they're retired judges who used to be in the system, right? And so they have training as judges, so they know how to look at evidence and things like that. Often there is a panel, and so it's not just one judge and a jury presiding over things. It's a group of people that are essentially coming to a consensus, or at least a majority vote, on how things are going to play out. It's a little bit more flexible when it comes to how evidence is presented and the structure of argumentation. And the most important thing is it's confidential, and so that people aren't seeing all your dirty, nasty secrets. Hollywood has to have arbitration clauses because there's too many dirty, nasty secrets that you can't allow to come out in discovery, which is the process in the legal hearing where all the evidence, is presented. We already saw what happens when hackers break into Sony and bring out emails that embarrass powerful people, right? Because no one in this town is actually restrained privately. They're all saying horrible things on emails. They're all saying horrible things on texts. You don't want those things pulled out as evidence. And so in an arbitration system, you can have that brought out, but it's not publicly released, and you can preserve the reputation and dignity of people and preserve the system, right? And so for Ms. Johansson her team to be doing this, it is very much it is an effort to blackmail Bob Chapek. So we're going to bring out all the nasty secrets, right? And I don't think it's ultimately about the payouts, because the payout they could have gotten so much easier. It's about removing him, with the idea being that the system will go, oh my God, Chapek, if this thing goes to trial, embarrassing emails that might ruin my reputation and career are going to come out. If you're not going to handle this, buddy, it's time for you to move. The problem is that's not how it's going to play out, because the people that own Disney, the shareholders, the billion-dollar, multi-billion-dollar funds are the ones that back PayPal. And the industry, which has been disconnected from the customer and from the investors for a decade, doesn't recognize that, because they're used to shoving garbage down in both the consumer and the shareholders' throats and saying, we're the club, you're going to take what we give you, which is how they've been behaving for 1 decade now. So this is a train that doesn't know how to stop, but it's about to hit a brick wall.
Yeah, that's very interesting to see how that's going to turn out. And also, on the note of arbitration, Tom, can you bring out the second article on screen, the one from Pirates and Princesses?
While we're doing that, I just saw a script. I got very intense about this. Is there anything perspective you want to share, because you've also dealt with arbitrations in your contract?
Don't make the judges laugh. It's not a good sign.
Because then the judge might laugh at you instead of with you.
No, it's basically they still like a sense of formality behind it. I've had arguments where I wasn't even intending to make a joke; it just happened because again, it was obscene. Like I did a full rewrite of a script. I changed names, changed the dialogue, everything. And then the original writer was hired to do another rewrite. All they did was change the names back, but left the dialogue. And I just called him a veneer artist, and one of the judges laughed at that. And it was a 5-panel arbitration. There's a lot of people there. And I lost.
Well, you were seen as being a little too big for your britches there, quoting veneer, right?
Yeah,
veneer, which the average Hollywood idiot doesn't know.
Yeah, that's it. But
who are these medieval painters?
It's like it just put something over top of it, but yeah, I just said that. I was asked a question, and I said, like, he did the least amount of work possible. He's a veneer artist, and that's what it was. Like, and one of them laughed, and basically my agent at the site said, yeah, we lost just now. and that was it. But no, Cameron, you're right. Like, there's a lot of there's a lot of discovery with regards to back and forth, emails, texts, contracts, deals, conversations with regards to what work is being done by whom, everything to try and support either party for the the resolution that they want. And it's a very informal aspect. I don't personally like it, but I understand why it is there, because the last thing this town needs is all of their dirty laundry aired out, because it would have to change drastically, and a lot of people are in power who've been in power for a long time but don't want that change. They need things to stay as they are.
And we saw what happened with Sony. I mean, Amy Pascal was pushed out, right? She was humiliated. She was humiliated with her comments about Angelina Jolie and about talent that altered her relationship. It's because all of us, I've got embarrassing emails. Nobody wants this crap out there.
I've been receiving embarrassing emails, but I don't send them stuff because
you're smarter than me. I will say, as you have a big mouth, I'll say whatever I'm thinking.
Well, the thing is, yeah, you do that part. Well, like when I was in high school, we learned about IT and networking, and it's like, listen, nothing ever dies, so don't say anything bad in an email or text. And I'm like, okay, I'll take that with me. And then I get into the industry, and it's like, why are people telling me this crap? I don't want to know this. And I just, say, reply, okay, and then that's all I do. And because I don't want to do, I'm Canadian. I don't want to be rude to people in that regard. I'll be rude to a person's work. I won't be rude to a person themselves. So it's like, what happened to you there? Did you, like, you screwed up? Okay, but you can do better. You can go for it.
A rule of thumb that I have is that whenever you put something in writing with another party, assume that party at one point might be turned against you. So don't put anything that can't be defended or used against you.
Yeah. Smart move.
As a general thing. But yes, moving on here then. This is the story that comes to us from Pirates and Princesses, the blog part of Clownfish TV. And the story there is that the judge for the Scarlett Johansson Disney case removes himself over conflict of interest. Mm-hmm. And the story then reads that now the case has taken yet another turn as the judge has removed himself due to a potential conflict of interest. LA Superior Court Judge Robert S. Draper removed himself on Monday due to the fact that he was partner at O'Melveny and Myers LLP until he left in 2005. But he still receives over $100K a year in monthly pensions from the firm. O'Melveny and Myers have legally represented Disney in many cases, including the lawsuit with Michael Jackson's estate over an ABC special and the Zootopia copyright lawsuit. One of Disney's lawyers on the Scarlett Johansson case is Daniel Petroselli, who is the chair of Melveny's trial practice and a vice chair of the firm. So one can see where it could be argued that this is a conflict of interest. And so the judge basically left the case, and to me, this seems like everything is done in well and order, and he rightfully should. And this then is something of a non-story.
It is a story. Let me tell you why it's a story, okay? Because everyone in Hollywood is conflicted. Everyone in Hollywood is conflicted. Everyone within the legal system of Los Angeles is conflicted, right? O'Melveny and Myers, I've dealt with them. I mean, they're an incredible firm. They're one of the oldest law firms in Los Angeles and old school Hollywood law firm, right? A lot of the top, lawyers, attorneys, and top judges in California had a tenure there, right? And have a connection there. And that's not, and there's a lot of others. There are big players like Gibson Dunn and Crutcher and a whole bunch of places. I worked at Manat, Phelps and Phillips, which is a big entertainment law firm here in Los Angeles, right? We're all connected to it. And everyone's paths and all lawyers have to give out, essentially when you join this industry, you have to essentially sign a conflict waiver. Like my attorney is a wonderful attorney. When I first took him on, I had to sign a conflict waiver because he also represents studios. He represents the big studios, and he's a professional. When he's on the other side of it, when he's representing me against a studio, he's only going to fight for my interests, right? But it looks bad, right? Because also in one case he'll be representing me against Sony, and in another case he'll be representing Sony against somebody else, right? So it looks bad to an observer, but that's the whole industry. That's why you have conflict waivers. So for this to happen, it means that this judge realized, oh my God, this ain't a legal dispute. I don't want to get involved in this, right? This is a power play. And the judge said, nope, I'm not going to get involved in a power play that's going on between CAA and Marvel and the CEO of Disney. I'm not going to get involved in that kind of battle. That's what this is, in my opinion, because everybody's conflicted. The next person who takes that, if they're willing to, maybe that person who wants the PR being involved in this case, right? And they'll take it. But if you delve into their background, you will find them to have a conflict because everyone is conflicted.
So who do you think is going to end up doing this then? If everyone has some kind of conflict here, who can they get to do this arbitration?
Whoever wants the PR. Judges love PR. Remember the O.J. Simpson trial? The smart thing to have done was for Judge Ito to have closed that trial to public cameras. That is the smart thing to have done, knowing that it was already a global circus. Instead, he opened it up so he could be a media star, which
and get his book deal.
I'm sorry?
And get his book deal.
And get his book deal. Guess what? These are human beings, right? And judges, unfortunately, they can be as deeply influenced by our human, venality as anybody else. As we saw, in my opinion, what happened in the UK in the Johnny Depp versus Son litigation, in which I believe it was a miscarriage of justice, and the judge, in my opinion, very likely gave into political pressures around the Sun and around other factors there inside the UK. The UK is arguably a very corrupt legal system. My UK attorney friends say that to me. And now we had Johnny Depp win a major thing in his lawsuit against his ex-wife Amber Heard, which was related to that incident, where the Amber Heard's attorneys attempted to say, look, this issue of defamation against Johnny Depp was already resolved. Res judicata, it was resolved in the UK. And the American judge, a woman, she said, basically Johnny Depp didn't have a fair trial in the UK because she saw that it was a clown show and that the judge was acting in ways that really brought into question the seriousness of the British judicial system, when the way he simply said, well, I have all these witnesses that are saying Amber Heard is lying. including police officers and all these very powerful people. I have all these witnesses, but I'm simply going to say, well, these people are under oath. Amber Heard is under oath, and Amber Heard would never lie under oath. So I'm going to believe everything she says. What, the police officer would lie under oath? It made no sense. It made no sense for him to throw out all the evidence that Johnny Depp's people had brought in that he was being taken for a ride by a con artist, right? Throw out all of that evidence from very credible people under oath and just say, I'm just going to believe everything this one person says, no matter what the other evidence is. It was such a miscarriage of justice that it brought the entire British judiciary into disrepute, right? And the American judges now said that. So we can see that judges can be corrupt. We can see that judges can seek limelight and relationships with powerful people and make judgments based on that. That's human nature. It's throughout history, and at corrupt moments in human history, which is, I think, the moment we're in, where the systems are all being revealed as corrupt, a lot more is happening. So all these things that you're seeing happening right now with the Disney lawsuit, with the Scarlett Johansson versus Disney lawsuit, are people jockeying for power and position. That's what you're seeing here. And I think this judge wisely said, I don't want to be involved in this. Somebody who is, poor, has more venal agenda might jump at this, and then the question is, where is that venal agenda attenuated towards? Is it attenuated towards Disney, or is it attenuated towards CAA? Is it attenuated towards Marvel? And who knows who this next character will be? But I think whoever takes this on will be conflicted, and we'll see what their agenda is. I don't personally think this is going to go to trial. I think this will get resolved, but who wants to be part of that media circus and why will be revealed.
Indeed. But before we reveal any of that, and even indeed also before we move on to the next story, which is the whole Kathleen Kennedy debacle you've all been waiting for, we have another panelist joining the fray. Welcome, Mandy.
Like what? Hey, y'all.
Now this is a panel. This is an arbitration panel that I like.
Good morning, you guys. How is everybody?
Well, I think we're good. Kamran, everything is better now, isn't it?
When we have the lovely feminine energy, everything becomes better.
Aw, thank you. I'm so glad to be here. And yeah, this is bullcrap. Everything Cameron said is true. Everything, because this is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous.
Welcome to Hollywood.
Right? Oh my gosh, it is so messed up. How are they going to literally say that, oh, well, she said it under oath, so she's not lying. But then at the same breath, so I guess the police are lying, everybody else is lying. Just her. She's the only one who's a saint and wouldn't lie under oath, right?
Yeah. So.
Okay. Whatever.
We're in that moment in history where, let's just say that the world is skewed towards people who have certain levers of power, and that's all they reveal to us.
Yep. Crazy.
Yep. Indeed. Good times. But yes, now when the full panel is here, let's do a couple of more super chats before we move on with the Kathleen Kennedy story. Which I know you've all been excited to get to. Rod Thunderheart. Tom, you're going to have to redo that.
Rod what is that? Porn? Is that a male porn star from like Boogie Nights?
Being a wrestler.
He's a wrestler.
I don't know this dude at all. I'm not into wrestling. They sounds like a male porn star from Boogie Nights. I'm sorry. That's what he sounds like.
Yeah, well,
he's really a wrestler, and like he really is a wrestler.
Okay.
Like the guy. Yeah.
Okay, I don't know. Forgive me, all you wrestling fans. I don't follow wrestling, so I'm sorry.
Anyway, now that Tom got the name right, Rod Thunderheart says, "Hail, Midnight's Edge in the morning, and Kamran. I think the biggest problem is once you've made it, you automatically have permission to be an a-hole." Obviously, in reference to Saimi Liu, as we spoke about earlier. And Rob Altus wonders, why do your heroes have to look like you?
Well, I mean, they don't, and they don't. This is just this weird moment in culture where we're at, where everyone is being deconstructed down to identities, which are then deconstructed even further, and eventually you're left with no one except yourself. You're left with nobody because there's nobody as unique as you who's going to be, you're not, how are you reflected? Because they have the same skin tone. Now we're getting to the place where, oh, they're reflected. I see myself because they have the same race, but no, I don't, because they have a different skin tone than me. That's the level of nonsense we're at, right? That person is darker than me or lighter than me. So even though they're of my own ethnicity, I don't feel represented. That's dehumanizing.
It's absolutely dehumanizing. They want everybody to look like a potato. That's what they want. And really when it comes down to, everybody has to look a certain way. No, it really comes down to what's between your legs, what color is it, and what are you going to use it on? It seems to be their main, I have to see what sexual orientation I'm into to feel like I can see myself in this character. It's gotten quite ridiculous. Just insanely ridiculous.
I all of a sudden no longer feel represented by American comics because there's no Norwegians in there. So, yeah.
No, say.
Well, technically, the Norse gods are kind of Norwegian-ish, technically.
Yeah, but I never really read Thor. It never really spoke to me. So even in spite of that. So,
I like the cartoon. I don't know, Mandy, were you too young for this? When there was a cartoon in the early '80s of Thor that was pretty good. I mean, Script, do you remember that?
I remember
Amazing Spider Friends and whatever that.
I remember Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Yeah, I remember.
I remember that one.
Thor wasn't in that, was he?
He was in, I think, a Fantastic Four, but I don't know which one. Because there's like 3 or 4 Fantastic Four cartoons out there. I know there's a live action for Thor that was with Brooks, with Bill Bixby's Hulk.
Yeah, it was the return of the Incredible Hulk, 1988.
I remember that.
That was cool. I liked that one.
Yeah, they even had the Hulk was great. Bill Bixby's Hulk. They had Daredevil on there.
That was the second. That was the trial of the Incredible Hulk. It even had the first Stan Lee cameo.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. For real. He was like in the jury behind there. But let's move on because we have a few more super chats to go through here before we get to the next point. Michael Miller says Michelle Yeoh was great. Then Alex Kurtzman ruined her for me. I don't blame you for that. And Mr. Tickle Trunk says for 20 Canadian dollars. Whoa, thank you. On behalf of all Canadians, I would like to say we apologize. And here's a very Canadian script. You're going to have to help me out here. I'm sorry, or something. How do you say that?
There's 2 types. There's I'm sorry, which is with the Northern Canadian, and then there's I'm sorry, which is a Southern Canadian.
Then we are covered. But anyway, you are all sorry.
And I want to say
Bieber,
sorry.
Seth Rogen, Chad Kroger, and Simon Liu. So yeah.
Well, Kamran, I want to say sorry too here a second. I want to say sorry to Rob Thunderheart. I was just making fun of the name, but I very much appreciate your super chat and so I was just teasing because the name it threw me off. I was like, that's a weird name to me, but I very much appreciate your super chat and so please don't take it the wrong way. I was just having fun.
Oh, well, that's good. That's good because we have a new chance here. The next super chat is from him. Tom, Can you say the word one more time?
Rod Thunderheart.
He says, "Hail, Andre, Tom, Script Doctor, and Kamran." And I'm going to add in and Mandy, but he sent this before you came on. I'm torn on Shang-Chi. I'm a fan of Simu Liu, but I'm not thrilled with his promotional approach. Which is fair.
That's
totally fair.
Yeah. And Valiant Renegade says for $5, Favreau's remark in the gallery was as expected. But Kathy, once again, wasn't in the episode and has been largely muscled since Rise of Skywalker.
She's becoming the Wizard of Oz. It's just a person whose name you keep saying, but you never see them.
Don't look behind the curtain.
That's true.
Yeah.
And on that note, Lord Trinan says for $5, problem with KK staying in any capacity is that she's a scarecrow. Her presence alone will keep fans and profits away. She's that toxic. And with that, what he's referencing here is, of course, the rumor that we and several others, although we were among the first, reported on this weekend. namely that, according to Mikey Sutton of Geekosity magazine fame, and he has a fairly solid track record. I mean, he predicted the Secret War movie for Marvel. That's like his most recent thing that is looking more and more likely to be happening now. He spoke of that months ago, and same with what we're right now seeing in the upcoming Spider-Man movie. I believe that Midnight's Edge was the first channel to break that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield were in talks. We weren't the first to break that the contract had been signed. That was others who did that, but we were the first to break that. Talks were happening at all, and that was courtesy of Mikey Sutton. So he does have some track record here. And according to Sutton, then Kathleen Kennedy is in line to be renewed as the head honcho of Lucasfilm. There was also some explanations given for why. I did not buy into those explanations. To me, they seemed like rationalizations rather than legit reasons. So I think that I'm not saying anything bad about Mikey Sutton here. He just run with what he was told. But I think that Sutton's sources were provided the company line, so to speak. Kamran, you have heard the rumor. It does not jive terribly well with everything we have seen in articles like The Atlantic, like in Forbes. It doesn't jive too well with that, although I think that there are, from certain points of view, where it actually does. But what's your point of view on all of this? Take us through the civil war that's going on between Bob Chapek and pretty much everyone else, and why are they so desperate to get rid of him, and why is Kathleen Kennedy so incredibly difficult to get rid of?
Well, I don't know Mr. Sutton, and so I don't know his sources. I will say this. I do agree that his claim that Miss Kennedy has been renewed for all of these reasons is suspect to this listener because it doesn't jive with the politics that we've seen developing very publicly in the last 7 or 8 months. But it does jive with something else. It jives with the Reddit release that came out a few weeks ago, which feels like many years ago.
I was thinking that too, because and that's something that we also broke and we exposed as a fake planted leak.
And the people that put it out there and the people that promoted it believed it to be true, right? Which was that Reddit leak was all about this alleged internal insider claiming that, giving some critiques of Ms. Kennedy are fair, but in reality, she has a great relationship with Jon Favreau. She's not responsible for the choices that were made in the sequel trilogy and blah, blah, blah. And it really elevated her. And that, while I agree with Tom that she's a little bit of a helicopter parent, I think she is ultimately responsible for the choices in the sequel trilogy of Star Wars. Even if it's just through negligence. And it was made to try to take all that blame away from her. And I knew that
to be clear, I meant more recently, but yeah, sorry.
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that was a fraudulent effort for PR at a time when she was beginning to feel beleaguered as Mr. Chapek was suddenly, to her surprise, asserting himself in ways she did not expect. That's when it came out. It was a bit of a whimper in the middle of a storm because it came out in between these articles they're referencing. The Forbes article that came out earlier this year, which we covered very directly and which perhaps I had prophesized was coming. But that article which said that, Bob Chapek was in trouble there and he needed, and because of how things were being mismanaged at Lucasfilm or Star Wars and all of that. And that I had said was actually likely to have been engineered by Mr. Chapek himself to make it look like, oh my God, he's in a bad situation. He's got to assert his power, to give him the excuse to assert his power, right? And then I've said on this channel that we saw the culmination. There was 3 stops. There was the Forbes article that says Bob Chapek is in trouble, right? The second article that came out was a few months later, which is from the Hollywood Reporter, if I recall correctly, which stated that Bob Chapek is knocking heads and reasserting himself and taking power away from studio heads, which is a direct response to, oh my God, he's in trouble. So how is he going to get his ship stabilized? He's going to start taking control. That was in 2. And then this surprise article in The Atlantic, which is not really known for its entertainment content, suddenly comes out and states that, you know, Jon Favreau is the visionary that's going to fix Star Wars, and names Kathleen Kennedy while not directly blaming her, essentially connects her with the failed version of Star Wars. That's being said in this very culturally, it's like the New Yorker. The Atlantic is for the cultural elite, especially the coastal elites, right, of what they're supposed to believe, and so to prep them for where the culture shifts are going to come. And so all of that strongly suggested that this civil war had been fought and won quite rapidly, actually, right? And Bob Chapek had done this winning move. And I think in the middle of this, we saw that Reddit leak, which for me sounded like a desperate effort to try to bolster Miss Kennedy's face publicly as she started realizing, I'm actually not going to win this. I think my time's up, right? So now we have this Mr. Sutton claiming this. So there's a couple of possibilities. One is that it is just he's being fed bad information in the same way of Reddit, which is attempting to, from people in Miss Kennedy's camp, which is attempting to just let her keep face, which is very important to her dignity. She's been under a lot of public attack and humiliation. She just doesn't want to be attacked inside the system and humiliated within the system, and her legacy humiliated. So that's one. But let's say it's true. Let's say
let's assume that it's true. Under what circumstances can this actually be accurate? Which, of course, we're going to learn within a matter of weeks anyway.
Yeah, and so it would be accurate. And I know Tom has some thoughts on and some things he's heard about what could be in her contract. But let's set that aside for now, right? Let's just say that none of that is there, and it's just pure politics, which is what I seem to be at least good at observing, even if I'm not always the good master of playing it, right? And so my observation is that let's say that there is no restriction on Bob Chapek letting her go at this point, right? Let's say there is no restriction or contractually. If that's the case, then the reason then would be if he essentially renewed her, it would be done quietly. And why would it be done, right? In the same way that she was apparently renewed 3 years ago, and we didn't hear about it, but she put out her own press release. Disney didn't say anything, right? And so I'm not even sure a press release would even come out now saying that she'd been renewed. I think she would just continue on to that role until she would announce her retirement, which it would be whenever she felt like it. But what would be the reason for that? In the current situation where the Civil War is no longer about Disney versus Lucasfilm, it's now about a much bigger problem, which is Disney versus Marvel, because Disney versus Lucasfilm was a lot of sort of a passive-aggressive backstabbing behind the scenes, such as letting Ms. Gina Carano go, and embarrassing Jon Favreau, embarrassing Bob Chapek, right? That's that kind of passive-aggressive war. What Feige is doing right now is a very aggressive war. It's active aggressive war, and in a very shocking way to the system. And so that's the real problem. And so if you've got this war going on, let's say you are in a historical moment in the Middle Ages, where you are attempting to become King Arthur, where you've got all these nobles who are essentially running the kingdom, and you're attempting to centralize control and not be a figurehead king, which is what everyone has had before. So now you've just defeated one noble that was causing you problems, and now the other nobles wake up and realize, oh, you're not going to be a figurehead. You might come from my fiefdom, and then they start a war upon you. You cannot fight multiple wars at the same time. What you need to do is you need to pacify as many fronts as you can while you take on your biggest adversary who's coming for your throne. So from a political point of view, the smart thing to do for Bob Chapek would be to not have Kathleen Kennedy leave and be resentful and join forces with Kevin Feige. And she's proven to be a master of doing things behind the scenes, right? Not as much as he is apparently, but she's definitely does those kinds of things. And so he doesn't need her bolstering the Hollywood crowd further against him. So the best way is to give her a chairwoman emeritus role where she gets a very large paycheck to continue doing what she's doing, which is stay at home and work from Zoom and have nice conference calls and get awards and not actually have any influence on things. And then he's basically paid her off to be silent. It's an old imperial technique. In Islam, the Umayyad Khalifa, the Caliph Muawiyah was famous for that. He always said, I never want to use my sword. I'd rather use my purse first, right? So you pay off your enemy first so you don't have to fight them. It's a waste of time to pull out your sword. He said, I will use my sword, but I'd rather just buy them out first. So that's what this is, essentially a buyout, so she doesn't get involved in this bigger war that's a real problem for him. That is what it would be if there's no contractual issues, and Tom can share what he's heard could be a contractual issue, which I don't know if it's true or not. But politically, it would be savvy of him to get her off the board and not be a troublemaker right now.
Yeah.
Basically, what I heard was just that because first of all, the satellite mom thing, like she was there very invested in the Star Wars sequels, but the spin-offs and the TV shows, she really wasn't. So like she was more than happy to take all the credit for Mandalorian, but she wasn't there. She was there that one day probably when George Lucas was there, and that was it. But no, my point was like, because I even know that from when we talked to certain individuals who worked on Solo that, you know, she let Lord and Miller go for 88 days before replacing them. So that tells me either she wasn't there or they did that for some insurance reason.
I mean, I'm sure she literally wasn't there. And I mean, you can't go 88 days and not look at single dailies and say, I don't like what I'm seeing. I've never seen anything like that. That's insane. Right. So it's she clearly wasn't supervising.
Exactly. So, and on that note, like in her this is what I was told. Again, this is just a rumor, so take it with a grain of salt. Was that in her contract, only counting the Star Wars sequels, mind you, not the spinoffs or whatever, the movies had to hit $1 billion, and then she had like a first refusal right on her contract for renewal or whatever. Because as long as she hit that goal, it was like similarly to where like if a movie hits a certain goal, you get the payout bonus, like what's going on with Black Widow right now. Same kind of thing, I guess. So it was almost like a kind of it triggered the automatic renewal thing since Rise of Skywalker made the $1 billion, and so did the first two films, making $1 billion. And then on top of that, of course, she took all the credit for Mandalorian, and that Baby Yoda saved her job as well, was kind of also implied. But again, that was basically all I got out of that. And, you know, otherwise I've been told, you know, it's nothing but a toxic environment around there, and it's hell to be there. Not just in Lucasfilm, but Disney in general, just because of the SJW crowd. And one of the head people, the names that keeps coming up is Pablo Hidalgo.
Oh, I can't with him. He's the one that was whining about not taking, like, being the Mandalorian, but having to wear the mask, right? Having to wear the helmet.
No, that's
the other guy.
That's the other guy.
Pedro Pascal.
You're thinking of Pedro Pascal.
That's right. They're all sort of Latino sounding. That's all. I'm making fun of myself.
I'm horrible with names. I'm the worst with names.
No, he's the dude sitting inside of Lucasfilm, twiddling his thumbs, thinking that he knows the lore. When Alora on OG Star Wars knows the lore better than he does.
She could run circles around him any day. Yeah.
See, I'm wondering with Chapek, like, because we have those stories with regards to him saying like no more multi-year contracts. Would it be possible, I wonder, if he did renew Kathleen Kennedy, but for a 1-year thing, basically just to close out Indiana Jones, and also kind of flex a muscle saying, yeah, she may have been here for all these years, but I'm giving her only that 1 year, and that's how it's going to be. And if we don't like the next year, it's basically kind of delaying an inevitable, especially considering the fact that the Scarlett Johansson court stuff is going to be rounding out for the fall. Would it not be in his best interest to be like, yeah, I'm going to prove that the most powerful woman in Hollywood is still subject to my rule of a single-year contract or a shorter-term contract, just to kind of send a signal to everyone else within Disney that, you know, these legacy contracts are no longer going to be a thing. That would be an interesting play. I wonder if he would do that.
Well, and you got to also remember that Bob Iger inserted himself when it came to Star Wars too, before he was even gone. Remember that big article where he came out and said, I take responsibility and the buck stops with me on Star Wars.
Yeah, so I think that's the moment when she was a figurehead, essentially.
Well, that's what I think. But yeah, Cameron, go ahead. You were going to say something. I'm sorry.
Well, I like what Script suggested because it also fits into what that Hollywood Reporter article, which was, you know, step 2 of this of Bob taking control, right? Of Chapek taking control, which is he asserted in that, or the sources asserted that he was attempting to end the studio head's long-term contracts, which is how Ms. Kennedy got in the situation that they couldn't get rid of her and they couldn't course correct, right? A bad situation that they started seeing was derailing, right? And so it would be great to be able to take, you know, it's essentially a form of the walk of shame. She gets renewed, but under the circumstances that he has asserted, where I'm the boss and you're under this tight leash here, and you know, you have to prove to me that there's any reason I should keep you on beyond this year, which is exactly what Kevin Feige is terrified of. He's terrified of coming to that situation, and he's willing to burn down his house and Disney to make sure he doesn't come into that situation. And Mandy, I was just teasing you.
Seriously, you kidding me?
My favorite person in the fandom.
Don't you worry about it, love bug. I wasn't paying no attention.
Yeah, because I think that would be a heck of a flex if he was able to pull that off. Like Kennedy, the the most powerful producer, female producer in Hollywood, and all she gets is maybe what a 12-month extension to cover Indiana Jones and whatever terms are in there.
You're next.
And then Feige, you're next. Yeah, after this thing is like then Feige, you're next. Yeah, or who knows.
That goes along with what I kept hearing, that she wasn't going anywhere till she retires, or at least until Indy 5 is done. And like you guys say, you with post-production and all that stuff, by the time it's all said and done and released, that's a year out. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of people in the chat saying I'm done with Star Wars if she's back, and I fully understand that. Look, I unsubscribed from Disney Plus after Gina was let go. I was really offended by that, and but let's see what happens in Star Wars. If I don't know that Miss Chrono will come back. I don't think she needs to. I think she's kind of hinted that they've approached her and she said no. I think that's been hinted on social media. But let's just see what happens with regard to if Favreau is actually able to continue to make good Star Wars with zero interference from the Kennedy camp. Then I think we're going to be okay. If she's just sitting there collecting checks with a chairman emeritus thing, and maybe even that role is going to make sure she doesn't screw up Indiana Jones, because Indiana Jones is in trouble. Spielberg left, right? Harrison Ford's been injured, so I think Chapek is aware that Indiana Jones could be in trouble. So whatever restrictions, if he extends her contract, I don't know that she really would have power over Indiana Jones beyond a credit.
What's going to happen to her as far? Let's say that she does just kind of take a little backdoor deal where she's no longer like working on these, titles, right? Are the SJWs, these crazy feminists that follow her, are they not going to turn and like just eat her alive when she says, no, I can't, Star Wars is what once it starts getting good again and they're not pushing these agendas, are they not going to eat her alive?
They'll have something else by then.
They'll have something else.
They're locusts. They're locusts.
True enough. Yeah.
They're locusts. They're going to be on Marvel. They're going to be on some, and we're already seeing, I think, what's happening there is with Mr. Liu and Shang-Chi, he's using all the SJW woke words about, he's using them in his critiques. He's bringing all this sort of weird racial stuff that isn't really accurate to the history of Hollywood, right, about him being sort of the first Asian star and I've never seen my face before. These are buzzwords for this generation of stupid people, right? And and if Script Doctor is correct that it's not just coming from his own narcissism, it's coming from instructions from the producers, which I think is very likely, then he's using the language that's going to draw the locusts. So locusts are all being brought by Feige into the Marvel camp to fight Disney. In the process, they're just going to destroy the Marvel camp, and then they'll move on to something else. So I think they're already bored with. I think they were defeated when Luke Skywalker returned. They might have had their hurrah. The Gina Carano was let go, and then Gina Carano went on with her life and her career continues. And I think they're sort of done with Star Wars. I think they're just done with it.
Yeah. But they do get tired of stuff once they've kind of got their little hooks in it and destroyed it. Then it is kind of time to move on to something that hasn't been destroyed yet. It's what they do.
Yeah, they moved on to He-Man, and now next is Eternals. That's going to be like the most important thing ever. So yeah, we have a super chat here that I think was particularly poignant. Cigar Gangster says for $19.99. Well, thank you so much. Great episode, folks. I follow the Star Wars Civil War and the Marvel shenanigans on many different platforms. You are the only people who play 3D chess, while the others are playing checkers. Keep up the great work. Aww. Well, thank you for pointing that out. And that's what we try to do here. Is when there is 3D or 4D or 5D or however many dimensional chess it may be being played, we want to be able to point it out. And so we are very proud to be working with the best people to point that out, such as Kamran Pasha. And such as his whole team. Everyone, you are getting some golden analysis.
Okay, there's Tom taking off the Darth Vader mask. We can see him now. Okay, what do you got here? What do you got, Tom?
What is that?
What is that? What are you showing? What's going on here?
Yeah,
that's April O'Neil.
I can't see it on my screen. What's happening?
Yeah, we'll sort that out. Look here.
Okay.
Oh my gosh!
What?
It's the new April O'Neil for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle NECA collection.
Okay.
It looks incredible. Did they spell the name right on the packaging?
I mean, they did spell the name correctly. It's not Urkel.
So okay, all right, okay. Well,
it actually looks like her. They did a pretty good job.
They did a good job on that.
Yeah,
it looks
Double
good.
Buck again wonders, is that KK?
Oh, no, I thought that too for a second. I thought Captain Getty had a doll now. You know, funny thing is, I'm sure it's going to outsell Gina Carano's dolls.
Is she actually managed to talk Elias Cortez into actually allowing his image to be used for a Casey Jones doll that's coming later this year? So that'll be cool.
Oh, by the way, people, I'm so happy right now. I just got an email confirming that my vote in the California recall has been counted by the county. Whether hopefully they recorded it correctly, because we've got a very corrupt voting system here in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I was about to say, like,
hopefully it's a vote for the person I wanted it to be vote for. But we'll see.
Yeah, like, did they count it the right way? I mean, or are we sure that, or like has the California recall election also been, fortified to ensure the right results?
It has been fortified. Just yesterday or the day before,
I saw the scandal.
Yeah, local news came out that a felon had been captured in his car with 300 ballots. How did he get people's ballots? This random felon was found. Someone gave him ballots to destroy, right? And it's just like, and then they being Los Angeles justice system, they let him off on his own recognizance. And I'm sure he's
of course. Of course I did. Of course I did.
These ballots? Where did you get these ballots? Well, you know what? Here's your court date. Come back and let us know. What?
Well, you're asking the justice system to change their habits that they've established for over 100 years in California.
Yeah, they're not going to be quick to change that. They're good.
No,
with it.
That's how a system is fortified to ensure the right result, and that's all I'm going to say.
But I'm not so sure it'll work this time. I mean, I could be heartbroken at September 14th. Not to get too political, but I'll be political. I'm very much opposed to Mr. Newsom, and I'm happily wishing him out. And I'm voting for Kevin Kiley, who is a state assemblyman who pushed the recall forward, who I have a lot of faith and trust in, who's a very sophisticated person. But setting all that aside, if it's the old way, it's just going to be, he magically gets 60% of the vote, even though 70% voted against him. But I'm not so sure that we're in that world anymore. I think we may get a relatively fair vote this time. I think while they will fortify it, I think so many people are deeply upset by what's happened to California that I think even if they put a whole bunch of magical ballots into the system, it might not be enough to overcome the actual voter anger. So we'll see.
Yeah, we shall see.
I'm hoping, because if that changes, I can then go to California.
Right?
Because
funny Canadians go. Canada, man. This is like the Berlin Wall, and can you even leave?
Actually, yes, we can leave, but right now the Biden administration is restricting travel from, like, U.S. people can come to Canada, and Canada can go to other countries, but Biden's saying not for Canadians to go to the U.S. recently.
But my Mexican friends can come over. That's okay.
Exactly. It's
God bless them.
It's crazy. And we've got a federal election too, where we're hoping things are going to change for the better as well. So yeah, I mean, it's a weird, contentious time. I desperately want to visit my friends in California and get some boots on the ground and do some work again, because it's been a long
boots
time.
Gonna have doo-doo on it because there's doo-doo on the streets here. So God,
I'm gonna bring a broom.
Yeah,
not the California you remember, my friend. It's not even the California you remember from a year ago. So,
but honestly, if the election goes the right way, it could get cleaned up. California is a beautiful state when you have people in charge that care about it.
Yeah, care about it. They're not complete scumbags. Yeah,
exactly. They're like the slumlords of states.
But to connect this to all that we're talking about here in Midnight's Edge, what's happening in California politics is directly reflected what's happening inside of Hollywood, because they're just mirror images of each other, and so we're having a power play within just as we're having within the industry, where people are beginning to recognize that the consumer and the shareholder matter. Right, for the future survival of the industry, there are people in California beginning to figure out that the old corrupt political machine might actually destroy the state, and that's not in anyone's interest, including the corrupt people's interest. Right,
exactly.
And so, the first time in history, that California lost a congressional seat because people fled the state last year en masse. So our population, for the first time in history, became smaller, right? And so that's not in the interest of people that are trying to make money in this. Even if they're corrupt boss hog types, you can't burn down the whole house, which Mr. Newsom has. So I will tell you this: publicly, all of Hollywood is embracing Governor Newsom, right? Privately, some very powerful people have told me, including high-level managers and agent types who are very connected to the Democratic Party here, said they literally, I got a text from one of them saying, Newsom's a scumbag. We got to get rid of him. So that's what they're saying privately. Publicly, they have to keep embracing it because, you know, it's the politics of it's what Jon Favreau is doing, right? You have to have a public face and a private face in order to achieve your objectives. And that's where I think Mr. Newsom doesn't, in the same way that the Mr. Feige doesn't understand the ground shifting beneath him. I don't think Mr. Newsom understands it either.
Yeah, and Kamran, I know that you have hard deadlines. Before we have a couple of super chats here that that are directed at you. Gran Wasu 42 said for €5, preach, seer Kamran, preach. Always a pleasure when you share your wisdom with us. And House Atreides said for $5 Hail Midnight's Edge. Kamran, with deep fakes becoming popular, is there a time limit after an actress or actress passes away, their likeness becomes public domain?
Well, I'd have to look into the law of public domain, but generally, if it's copyright law, I mean, if it were copyright, there's a certain statutory thing. I mean, script, I don't know what the current, it used to be 70 plus years. I think it might have been extended by Disney itself, but it's about a century almost that you have before Mickey Mouse comes into public domain, right? And Disney keeps changing the law to make sure it doesn't lose Mickey Mouse. But I don't know what the law is with regard to public figures. I think what's happening right now is Hollywood is making deals with living actors. Like I think Mark Hamill publicly made a deal to give his likeness to Disney, so that, you know, it will. That's why they could continue making deep fakes of Luke Skywalker 100 years from now. He's made the deal that he and after him, his estate and his family will continue to benefit from that. I'm sure they're making arrangements with Marilyn Monroe and estate and other groups to try to get those rights. And so we're going to see these actors come back alive, and then we can debate whether that's even a good thing or not. But I think that is the future.
Yeah, I think it would be a state run, but I have some reservations because, again, the difference between a public figure and, say, a property that's being manufactured or written is very, very different. So I think it might have to be like a state familiar thing, because, again, individuals are individuals. They have completely different rights as opposed to property. So there's a risk of conflating individual rights with property rights with regards to deep faking technology that I think has to be explored before we can know for sure.
Yeah, it's a very murky zone right now. That, you know, if we bring Abraham Lincoln back, you know, Abraham Lincoln has descendants. Does anybody have a say in that, right? And so it's interesting.
Yeah. And Mr. Tickletrunk said for $2 always love the insight of Pasha Domus. And then ID Shadow says for €10. Hello, Kamran. What do you think will happen with all the incompetent and woke people in the entertainment industry? Can they be saved, or do they have to disappear so that things can get better?
Well, you can't save and fix incompetence or wokeness, right? Maybe somebody might. I know people that are post woke, that are good people that just bought into a lot of nonsense, But like my friend Carrie at Unsafe Space was very much a woke Hollywood person, and then she woke up, and then she found her faith in God and on all of that. Now she's very anti woke. So you can get out of that. Incompetence you can't get out of. But you know what the end result for all those people is? They get paid off, so they're all going to make money. So they're all going to be fine. You paid them off to get rid of them. So they're all you can resent them as much as you want. But they're all going to have nice houses that their incompetence has built, right? And I'd love to answer this the very nice one that's on the screen right now by the Zardos. So I'll read that. It says, I would like to see more positive interaction with Muslims in film. Cameron is a great writer. I would like to have more Muslim creators showcased within Hollywood. This coming from a non-Muslim woke person. Great show, everyone. Well, thank you very much, Zardos. Definitely, I'm fighting for that. One of the challenges we're facing right now is when I started off in this town, it was pretty much myself, and I discovered there was actually one other person who was an African-American Muslim, who was very successful, Mara Akil, who did all of those shows, like, all those shows in the in the Tyler Perry world, right? And girlfriends, like that kind of thing. And so she's a much more devout Muslim than I am, but nobody really knows that. She keeps it very private. But it was just us two in this town 20 years ago. Now there's a bunch of us here, and I was invited to a young Muslim writers conference before all these lockdown things happened. And so I got there, and I was so delighted to see all these 20 young people right out of college, all these young writers. Some of them were getting staff jobs and shows. I was so happy. And then the organizer started off, so everyone please introduce yourself and please tell us your pronouns.
Oh no.
So here we got this, and I suddenly realized I'm the only non-woke dude in this group of Muslims. I was like, we're screwed. We're totally screwed. Man. I was like, pronouns. I was like, are you kidding me? We Muslims are gonna be doing this crap too. So I was like, we're screwed. So I'm gonna be the one that's gonna try to be the guy who's gonna represent the culture, because that's not the culture. And sort of these types are like these young kids who just want to fit into Hollywood, and they're like, yep. This is my day, them, and I'm good, right? They just want to be liked by the system, and they're all sort of gender fluid and whatever. So they ain't going to be representing normative Muslim culture. So I'm going to try to be the last remnant of that.
Yeah, and thank you for that generous super chat. We really appreciate that. And then we have a couple of more before you have to run, Kamran.
Yeah, and I've got an announcement at the end that I want to share.
Yes, and we have an announcement at the end. We have to have time for that as well. Yes. Tom, you have to say the name one more time.
Rod Thunderheart.
And he says, "Hail Midnight's Edge in the morning, Kamran and Mandy. FYI, I used to pro wrestle, but write romance sci-fi comedy novels on the side, and my wrestling name sounded cool, so I went with it."
Nice.
Wait, is this actually the real Rob Thunderheart? Is
like yeah.
God bless. Oh my God, I thought it was just somebody using the name.
No, that's real deal.
Real.
Wow, okay, we got a celebrity here. This is great. Well, then thank you for being patient with me teasing your name, but it is a great name.
And then we have, let's see, Augie Ben Doggy wonders, at what point does profit loss supersede agenda?
Now, this is the point. The war we're watching between Disney and Marvel is the point. This is the moment. So this is the war between profit versus agenda, and I believe profit will win out, because it always does.
Yeah, money's awesome.
Oh yeah,
I like money.
Yeah, this is about the club not wanting to give up its money, and it's essentially, this is where getting oligarchy that is being forced to actually redistribute its wealth to the people who own it, which is the shareholders. It doesn't want to do that, but it will.
And then Dash D says, "Hi guys, Kamran, did you hear anything about Sly's movie Samaritan?"
No, I haven't heard about this, so forgive me. I know you've given a super chat, but I don't know. Anybody know about this movie?
Never heard of it.
No,
so I just started hearing about it. It's a movie he made.
I think someone mentioned it last night's show, right?
Yeah, I haven't seen the trailer or nothing for it yet.
We evidently have to do more research on it. The Waltman 4 says for $4.99. For Kamran, given the world climate right now, do you think we might see some cultural changes to a small degree?
You know, it's hard to say that, because right now the whole planet is in chaos and the United States is in chaos. And I think culture is very confused right now. The woke have destroyed it, and smart people are afraid to speak up, because we're in a weird moment. We're like living in somewhere in between Brave New World and 1984. So we're in this strange moment here. Ultimately, I am an optimist, and I believe that everything is cyclical. So after we are going to a place of essentially the end of an epic of history, and that has ended very poorly. But I think we will ultimately see the pendulum swing back. It may take time. It may take the course of this decade. But I think that basically, our power structures are collapsing here right now, whether it's Hollywood or whether it's government. They're collapsing, and they're being revealed for what they are. And that's going to cause a culture swing in the other direction as people begin to realize they've been taken for a ride by people they trusted.
Yeah.
Yeah. And with that, we are done with the super chats directly addressing Kamran. We are not done with all the super chats. We have more super chats to go through. We're going to go through them all afterwards, but Kamran has a hard deadline here. So, Kamran, before you go, you have some new places where people can reach you, and they are, of course, available in the description of this video. Now, you already have your website. We're going to throw that up in the up in the chat right here in a second, if some of the mods can help out with that. So we have your website where people can go read about you, your previous works, your books, everything like that. You
can buy my books online there, yes.
Exactly. But what is new, and this is very, very brand new, is that you now also have a Patreon where one can get new exclusive information from you. And tell us more about that. Here we have your website up on the screen here. We're going to have your Patreon here shortly. Tell us about your Patreon. What can people find there?
Well, you know, I'm a bit of a Luddite. In my first Patreon post, I say that I'm a bit of a Luddite, which means someone who resists technology. I'm always slow on technology because I'm a sort of old school kind of guy. And so I've resisted. People have said to me, you should have Patreon. You should get more active in other ways. And I've resisted that, Josh, because it's a newfangled thing for me, right? So, but finally I decided it's, you know, I've loved developing these relationships, especially with the Midnight's Edge viewers. They've all become like a family to me. They've really been very supportive, and I've made friends out of there, like real friends, more than I have in Hollywood in some ways. And so I launched my Patreon essentially last night. So it just launched. That the Patreon's, it's my name, Patreon/Kamran Pasha. And what my goal with that is to actually start being able to put out a lot of sort of some of the stories like the ones I shared with you about what happened with the Bruce Lee story. I have hundreds of these stories of the journey that I've been on, and to give my insights behind the scenes in a more disciplined fashion. You know, here I am conversing, but hopefully be able to write essays about some of the politics of Hollywood so that the people who join the Patreon will be able to get at least my perspective. And, you know, I have my critics who say he's just a guy, and you're right, I'm just a guy, but I'm a guy who has 20 years in the middle of this crucible. So I have something that's not just an opinion. I have something that's based on it. And I think Midnight's Edge has shown that I tend to be somewhat perceptive of events that are coming based on that experience. So I'd like to be able to share with you longer essays on there. And again, I'm a writer, so I'm going to focus right now on essays. I'm not yet doing the visual stuff. And so that will come eventually when I figured out how that technology works. But for now, you know, the very first Patreon article that I want to do starting this weekend is I actually want to share with everyone the really amazing and convoluted story of how I first encountered what I call the club. Right, which was very early in my career, where I'd landed in this town, and in 2002, for a moment, a script that I wrote got incredible attention from the biggest players in town, and then there was an effort to actually defeat the script within the studio system. There's an actual concerted effort to make sure it didn't move forward, and it was the most shocking thing. Even my agent said, "I've never seen anything like this," where people are actually conspiring to hold back a project that major producers want to make because it was very politically sensitive, and it, you know, and you'll see why. And that was when I learned. Literally in that moment, I thought I was about to become multimillionaire on a script, a multiple bidding war, and then the bids were removed because of like every studio just backed away because of the politics. And so I went from like, oh, I'm about to have $3 million to nothing, right? And that was early in my career, 2002. So was that what, almost 19 years ago? Yep. So that was the experience that I want to share in a very lengthy essay talking about how the industry works, how the club works, the internal cabal of the system, and how it controls the narratives that you're watching, and how it will prevent people, or at least try to prevent people from breaking those narratives. So that's the first essay I'm going to share. I hope you're able to join me. There's multiple tiers. The first tier is, you know, simply like $5 a month, where, you know, I usually see these articles. There's a second tier where, you know, I'll be doing Q&As where I can ask you to send, you know, questions to me, and I'll be able to directly respond to them. And then there's third tier, which I'm actually going to be sharing excerpts from my scripts and my upcoming novels, stuff that isn't publicly available. So you can at least, hopefully you'll get to see some of the great stuff, and hopefully you'll learn some, you know, at least how I write, if that's of value. So I'm doing that out there. I would love your support. I've already started just on people hearing about it from Facebook. I've already started getting some subscribers. There's a very large community here. I know there's fans here. So if you can come and support me, it actually allows me to survive in this industry. You know, and I've survived 20 years in this town kicking my ass, and I keep coming back. But having this kind of community support through Patreon allows me to stick around here and keep being that sort of that annoying pebble in the shoe of Hollywood that won't go away and keeps revealing its truths. You can come support me on that. So it would mean a lot to me if some of you joined me on Patreon.
Yes, so everyone, make sure to do that. And Kamran, I know that you have to run. You have a hard deadline, so I just want to say thank you again for joining us, for coming here to share your insights. We love having you on. Our audience love having you on. So thank you, and fingers crossed for your business meeting that is due in 10 seconds or something.
It's coming up very shortly. And thank you, Andre and Tom, as always, for being incredible hosts. Script, you're like the brother whose face I've never seen. So I hope to see that face one day. Maybe you can come to California. We'll have coffee here.
If everything goes well in the next 2 months, I am gonna come and see you, sir.
and we'll go tour the homeless tents in Santa Monica together.
Exactly.
God bless them all. And Mandy, as always, you brought vibrant energy to this thing. Please come on regularly, because we need your perspective and we need your energy, which makes it all fun. So thank you so much.
Oh, big hugs, Cameron, and good luck at your meeting. You got this. You got
this.
this.
Yes, he does.
I'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Excellent. Yeah. And before we move on with anything, Mandy, speaking of got this, you've got something too. As 6 points out, only 5 days left to back this indie comic by Mandy Summers, namely Jack Ripper the Vampire Hunter. Tell us about Jack Ripper Vampire Hunter.
I gotta correct you. It's Jack the Ripper Vampire Hunter.
Yeah, well, yeah, you do that one then. Well, anyway, Mandy, even though Tom can say it better than me.
Well, you missed the, but I mean, actually, if you're going to say that, it sounds like
Andre said it beautifully.
Well, he missed the.
Well, he missed the but maybe they don't use the a lot over there.
If I was going to say it in a fancy way,
make a sequel starring Frankenstein, Vampire Hunter, and we got
Vampire Hunter. So, yeah, no, but if I was going to actually say it, I wouldn't say it like that anyway. I'd say it like Vincent Price, because it sounds like something Vincent Price would say. So, like Jack the Ripper, Vampire Hunter.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, there you go.
You sounded spooky. So, yes, you guys, please check out my comic book, Jack the Ripper Vampire Hunter. It is on Indiegogo right now. It is the story. We basically took the classic story of Jack the Ripper that all of you guys know, except we put a twist on it to where the victims, the prostitutes that he was murdering, they were vampires. And that's why he was doing it. It's got some detective work in it as he tries to hunt down the Highgate vampire, which you can look it up, was a real thing that went on over in London at the Whitechapel Cemetery, all of that. So, yeah, we took a bunch of different parts of history and we put it together in one amazing story. And Peter Gilmore is doing the art on this campaign, and it is phenomenal. If you like high detail black and white art, this is definitely the book for you guys. So please go check it out. And yes, Sailor Sonic's, what is it? Sailor Sonic 78, buy my book. Buy my book. So yeah, everybody, please go check it out.
Buy my book. Oh, speaking of Peter, he shared a tweet with me the other day that was quite hardcore.
Did he?
See if I can find it here.
Oh! I know what that is.
Yeah, and I feel like I did pressure you into getting this. I will admit that. This is one I did. I said, I'm not reading a book, okay? Because I don't do homework like that. And she's like, okay. I'm like, but I want to read Hardcore Pornosaur. You got to make it a comic book. So Peter says, hold my beer. And he puts a bunch of these like emojis on here.
Nice.
So it's coming.
It is coming. Yeah, in more than one way. We will have Hardcore Pornosaur. I wrote a song for it, but I won't sing it on this channel. You go to my channel and hear me sing my Hardcore Pornosaur
I've heard
song.
it before. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It. Big Dick Daddy. Big Dick Daddy.
Yeah. Hardcore Pornosaur. He's a big dick daddy.
Big Dick Daddy.
Yes, but we are making this into a comic book as well.
It's obligatory. I told you this. I'm sorry. I had to insist. It's obligatory. It has to be a comic book. How can you not have a comic book?
That's what you said. You said, maybe you have to do it. And I'm like, all right, let's do it then. Yeah. Tom wants this to be a thing, and I want this to be a thing.
Even if I'm the only one who buys it, damn it.
That's enough. That's enough for me. Just knowing that you have it and you know, I'm sure you're going to go and get it graded and everything else. I'll make sure to send you, 9.8 or something.
Awesome. So. Well, you always send me little extra notes and little
I
sign them and stuff. So that's awesome. I got your cards like a couple weeks ago. That was cool. Danger Noodle says, "OMG, that T-Rex is sexy." Yes, that is one sexy Rex.
Yeah, he's ripped. He's ripped, y'all. He's very sexy.
So I can't wait for that. But do we have any more super chats, Andre?
Yes, we do. But before that, I'm just checking something else here because we might have gotten some breaking news here. Reservoir Frog says,
"Sorry,
yeah,
go ahead and bring that back up."
Time. Says breaking: Letitia Wright hospitalized on stunt gone wrong in shooting Black Panther. Variety. Now, I checked Variety and I didn't see anything there, but I also checked Deadline, and that's where we have the story. So I'm going to bring it up right now, and we're going to look and see.
I hate it when I hear things like this, especially in the day and age of CGI.
Yeah.
Let's see then. Letitia Wright hospitalized with minor injuries. Okay. During stunt rig incident on Black Panther Wakanda Forever shoot. Another story is exclusive. During an overnight shoot in Boston for Marvel's Black Panther Wakanda Forever, sources tell Deadline Letitia Wright suffered minor injuries due to an incident with a stunt rig. Letitia Wright sustained minor injuries today while filming a stunt for Black Panther Wakanda Forever. She is currently receiving care in a local hospital and is expected to be released soon, said a spokesperson for Marvel. Sources say the incident was minor and will not have an impact on the film's shooting schedule. While the incident took place in Boston, the primary shoot has been going on in Atlanta, going back to the end of June. Wright is reprising her role along with blah, 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 nobody cares. Film is set to bow on July 8th, 2022, so next summer's blockbuster then.
I hope it's a minor injury.
Yeah,
it does say minor.
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
I don't think
many
in general. I
I'm
think
being a little sarcastic
CGI,
there.
Yeah,
I'm being a little sarcastic there because they're not detailing the specifics of what the stunt was. So she's part of a stunt rig. So that could be either on a vehicle or it could be on a harness. And if there's a stunt rig harness, that's usually referring to the back more than anything.
Yeah. I hope she's okay.
Back injuries are not minor injuries.
No,
that's why
that's a lifelong injury, really.
We don't know how bad this is, but I just thought that they really overemphasized minor injury many, many times. If they had said it one time, I wouldn't have thought twice about it. I was like, oh, someone just sold the scoop. And they got their $1,000 or something from Deadline for that exclusive. But when they really reiterate minor, so minor, it's so minor, that I'm starting to question how minor is this?
Kind of like Harrison Ford's minor injury they tried to hide.
Right. I mean, why, for a minor injury, why would they be saying that she's actually in the hospital and not just went and got checked out and was released?
Yeah, because don't they normally have like nurses and stuff like that on set?
I would think they would have a medical tent right there on set, especially if people are doing stunts and stuff. It seems like insurance alone would require you to have some kind of setup for injuries.
Well, it depends to a point. Like there's a general nurse, which usually is there just to give a B12 shot if you have the sniffles or something of that nature. When there's stunt teams, there's usually a coordinator, and there should be either a physiotherapist or another person for musculature issues to be on there that does a quick diagnosis. But then it's really just a diagnosis, and then you get the ambulance involved all the time. Like they don't ever fix anything on set.
Okay.
So yeah, I can imagine that maybe everything was in order, and then somebody did a pull when they should have just did a release, and something happened, and she got assessed quickly, and then the paramedics came, picked her up, took her to the hospital, and now they're taking every precaution to make sure that she's okay.
It could very much be. It just seems funny that the article came out before she was released, because typically if you go into the hospital for minor injuries, you're there an hour, 2 hours, you get checked, depending on the hospital. You're there for, a shorter time, and they send you on home. in which I would have expected this article to say that she's
for talents and stunts. They usually do an overnight. So you get in there, you're basically like within 30 minutes or so, you're like seeing someone. You're treated, and then they're basically like, we need you overnight for observation, and then by the morning they figure out exactly what's next steps to go, whether you have to retain or not.
And also in the US, it would have went right over the wire to where like they would have heard it right away. Like, and if they would have said her name and everything like that, like
very, very tricky.
Over the emergency broadcast. So like, as opposed to, if I remember right, Harrison Ford was overseas when that happened, so it may not have been as quick to get out. So
true. And I'm thinking about my country ass hospitals we have here. So
because I believe they were in Argentina or something like that when they were shooting Indiana Jones, right? Or
that
sounds right to me.
That sounds right.
Well, Argentina is pretty advanced, so.
Well, no, but I mean that doesn't mean they have the same thing here. Like anybody can tune into the emergency like the emergency band, like, and you can get that news out right away.
Oh,
like all they had to
stuff?
Yeah, exactly. All they had to hear was over the dispatch that they're bringing in a black female, Letitia Wright is her name, blah blah blah, off of whatever from whatever place, and they knew right away where that was, and they're like, oh, that's her. And they just got it out there right away. So
maybe, but like it's very. I mean, I don't know 100% on the U.S. side of things, but I know in Canada and in Argentina, because my uncle's from there, and also in the UK, they do not release patient names over dispatch.
No, I think what happened is probably it's like you have tons of people on set. It only takes one of them that like sneaks out like, hey, I just need a bathroom break here, and then
they just tell their buddy,
hey, deadline, I have a scoop for you. There's something just happened on the Black Panther. How much you pay me?
Well, actually, you're right. They probably didn't say the name, but they probably said like a black female being brought in, whatever, blah 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 blah. Then somebody knew exactly where they were coming from because of wherever they said that the ambulance was going. They probably called the hospital. They couldn't get a name out of them, whatever. Then they called Disney for some kind of fucking comment, and that's where they got the minor injury.
Yeah, of course. That's Deadline calling because they're like, "Hey, we heard this happen."
It's like 3 phone calls, is what I was trying to say.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, but I think it's probably, I would imagine someone there on the set decided, I'm going to get me $1,000 tonight. Tips off Deadline. Deadline calls back to Disney. They can't deny it, so instead they get minor, absolutely minor. Stress that it's minor.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
That's how the story is, and that's how you get the story like that.
It's so minor. She's actually treating the doctors there.
We called in Doogie Howser even.
So yeah, let's just hope that that it really is as minor as they claim.
No, you're right. They don't say names over the radio. You're right about that. But it was probably something that they knew where they were coming out of, and like somebody said something, and then Disney couldn't deny it, like you said, and that's my guess. Yeah. That's how it got out there pretty quick.
And it's the people that are working on set. They are the ones that know that they have to call Deadline Hollywood to get some money out of this. If it was like someone local, they would have called a local newspaper or national. They might not be aware of the industry trades, which is why I think it's like someone on set.
Most likely.
Someone on set wanted some extra cash, and Deadline pays well for scoops like that. I mean, when it says exclusive, they want their money's worth, and they're willing to pay for it.
I mean, I just don't like the idea of anybody getting hurt in this day and age. It just sucks. I hate it.
Well, the weird thing is that the safety procedures are there, and they're really good, but they're also very expensive. And one thing that we've learned over the last few years is that some productions like to cut some corners. The other part, too, is like the stunt union is also not as influential as it used to be, because they used to be very, very strict with regards to, like, if we're doing this stunt, all these aspects have to be addressed. Like even for when they used to jump cars, they would actually have stunt guys refuse to go inside a car, and they'd just like rig it up to be driven automatically so they could get the shot, and then they'd pick up later because they're like, we're not hopping over this train, or we're not hopping over this car, or something of that nature. It's just way too dangerous. And they just, they jam the gas pedal, they line it all up, they let it go, and there you are.
Yeah, and also in reference to how much they emphasized minor injuries, Nico Persiainen said, they said it so many times that it is career-ending. In reference to
I think it's more to get ahead of the idea that Disney doesn't want any thoughts that this movie might be delayed.
Yeah, of course. But I just thought it was like amusing. It backfires when they emphasize it that much. Lindsay, the cynical geek, also points out back injuries are not good. At least you can cast up a leg or an arm and not walk on it or use it. Well, and yeah, back injuries are the worst. That's kind of like the one thing that the human body can't recover from. So let's hope that it's just something really, really minor, and that is really real.
We also got to remember
and that wizardry is incorrect.
We also got to remember this is the studio that keeps trying to kill Harrison Ford. So
that is true. That is true. But bless her heart, hopefully she's okay, and it is just minor. Maybe it's just a twisted ankle, and due to insurance, they have to keep her or something. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. That's what Pivkova says. Hope she will be okay. I'm sure she will. Probably it's true. Probably it's just something minor. And if it isn't, we'll learn about it soon enough. Dashtis also says, so Rwanda is actually hidden in the Boston subway. Genius.
I think he meant Wakanda.
I think you might mean Wakanda. Like Rwanda isn't that well hidden.
Rwanda is real.
Autocorrect or something, most likely.
Yeah.
I deal with that on a daily basis. My brain autocorrects sometimes.
Mine does too.
Yeah, I've seen some fun ones. So yeah.
Well, we get to this point, and I need something to eat, or my brain's all mush anyway. But yeah, no, I hope she's fine. I hate hearing when people get hurt in movies, especially in this day and age. I feel it's unnecessary.
There's very little real reason for it. I mean, not everyone can be Tom Cruise, who's like hanging off from like space.
That motherfucker's crazy.
He's insane, though. He's insane. That's.
For better or for worse. I mean, like one thing is like hanging from the top of the Burj Khalifa and all those stuff. The other is like everything he believes. But hey ho, let's just take the movies and roll with that. But we had some more super chats in here. So before we move on, I want to try to get caught up on those. Let's see here. Here we go. The next one that we didn't do already. Michael Strelitz said for £5, what do you think of Marvel and the ass wipe they are lost? The customer comes first. Well, I think that Michael Strelitz, if I read this right, he thinks that Marvel are ass wipes and that they're lost. And the customer comes first. And yeah, it's difficult to agree with that. But I also think that this super chat may have been a little bit like auto-corrected in there somewhere. but yes, I agree. The customer absolutely should come first, and Marvel really needs to stop being ass wipes.
Marvel's, they are total.
Well, that's about all their comic books are good for anymore.
That's all. You can use it for birdcage liner. If you have hamsters, the hamsters do like to chew it up and nest in it. So, I mean, you can find use for your Marvel and DC books.
There's lots of protein in those like color pages.
There are.
Yeah, they're fancy now.
They are
Master
fancy.
Clockwork says for $5, studios keep trying to artificially make films big cultural landmarks. But what kind of impact did Black Panther have? None, far as I can tell.
I don't know if that's fair.
I don't know if that's entirely correct. I mean, if there was one that really was that, it was Black Panther.
But that was almost in despite of what they were trying to do with it.
Of course, I think the better example would be Captain Marvel, where they tried to repeat the cultural landmark thing that Black Panther was, and boy, was that an epic fail to the max.
Clearly trying to do again with Shang-Chi, and I think they're going to fall flat on their face.
That's going to be an even bigger epic fail to
Chapek
the
is
max.
more than willing to let that happen to prove his point, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing the Chinese reactions to not Shang-Chi, who is still Shang-Chi in all but name.
Has it came out yet?
Shang-Chi comes out this week.
It's
come out in some places already.
Next week is
I think it's next week. I don't think it's out just yet.
Yeah, next week. Yeah.
Still no Chinese release date.
Yeah,
there ain't gonna be a Chinese release date.
It's already out in a few places though, I think, but not in the U.S. till next week.
I have to see when it's out here. I don't think it's out here for like another couple of weeks.
I thought it was in a couple places already.
I don't think so. I think it's just pre-screenings.
Was it? Okay.
Private industry screenings right now. Yeah,
all right.
Exactly.
I was wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know. Michael Dixon brings up a very important question, though. Why should people care about stuff? You know, because stuff matters sometimes, but sometimes stuff is shit, Mike. But then there's other times there's stuff that you just got to deal with because stuff happens.
Yeah, I think you summed it up. Stuff matters.
Stuff matters. Sometimes you care about stuff, and then other people keep messing your stuff up. Exactly. So then you have to care more about the stuff because they're messing it up. And yes, I do get the irony, guys, that I'm wearing a Marvel shirt as a bad mouth in Marvel. They used to be good. They used to be good, and this is an old shirt, and I'm sunburned, and it's comfy. So
all I know is when I think about stuff, I think of St. George Carlin when he talks about how all people do is need room for their stuff. I need to find a place for my stuff. Oh, ran out of room for stuff. Need a bigger place. Need more stuff.
Get more stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. Always a good way.
Anyway, back to Super Chats.
Back to Super Chats. Then we have, let's see, Oki Bendoki. He said Spider-Man versus Wolverine for some reason. But yeah, who knows what can happen in the multiverse. Said, please hit that like button. Yes, indeed. Do smash that like.
That was hot, Andre.
Yeah, and no one can say that quite like me. And 200 Watt Studio says, you're being uncool is the new harshing our bus.
I guess so. I mean, it means the same thing, I guess. And yes, Mondo Bizarro, Stallone himself announced that Expendables 4 is coming. That is correct.
Yeah.
That was like 2 weeks ago, I think it was.
And then we had Deranged Lunatic, who says, I'm here because Mandy told me to show up.
Oh, hate to hear.
Well, when Mandy tells you to do something, you do it.
Yeah, exactly. Simple as that. And I like to believe that hopefully you've got something pretty decent for your time. So yeah,
I hope so.
And we're not over yet.
Willie Woodward's also in the chat here. Since we can bring it up on screen, $5 says, Mandy, I thought the shirt was to state the obvious about your blessings. Just playing much love to you all. Also, hi.
Hey, Willie.
Hello, Willie. How you doing?
Yeah. And also on that note, Cosmic Vader says, smash it like a Pornosaurus.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen people talking about Nunchuckosaurus. Just keep that in mind. You never know what could happen. I got to work on that.
And also, not the super chat, but still a question. Brian Barth says, Midnight's Edge, how come Sony is being secretive about Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield? Oh, that's easy. They want to wow you at the movie's premiere. Because here's like the thing. We all know that they're in the movie, but normies don't know that. So they want the general audience to go in and be blown away when suddenly the old Spider-Man show up in the movie. They want you to have that surprise. They want you to have that Luke Skywalker moment.
The Luke Skywalker moment.
Yeah, and if we all had known that Luke Skywalker was there, I guarantee you it wouldn't have had half the impact that it did. It was because it was so unexpected, and that gradual reveal when everyone was like, I know it's Luke, but I can't believe it's Luke. I can't believe it's Luke. Now I know it's Luke, but it can't be him. Oh shit, it really is him. And just that ecstatic thing. They want to repeat that in real time on the big screen. And the only way they can do that is by trying to conceal the fact that they are in the movie. And I think they've done a fairly good job at it, because while people that follow this and other channels and like the Real Geek News, they know, I don't think that normies know. I don't think that normies have even the slightest clue. So I anticipate some very cool audience reactions the moment when they do realize. And actually, honestly, I hope they're able to keep the secret.
Well, unless the movie is what Gary and Az were pondering about yesterday, I think they might be onto something like, unless we're being tricked through the trailer, which could very well be.
That could very well be, yeah.
They pointed out that maybe, just maybe, when Peter jumps through the multiverses, he just looks like whichever Spider-Man he goes into that multiverse. So that's probably where we'll see them, which to me would feel kind of cheap. But then again, I'm wondering if it's not stuff that's building up more for Doctor Strange than anything. So
could be.
We'll have to see on that.
I just want Spider-Gwen to show up at some point.
I'm sure she will. I mean, they've even talked about like a Spider-Gwen movie.
Yeah, I really I need that to happen and them not dick it up.
That's a bigger question.
Yeah, the second part's key for it to happen, and then them not mess it up really bad.
Yeah.
So.
Mike Dixon then comes in again and says, if people care about stuff, do people care how programmers made this chat work?
I do. I care.
I'm sure somebody does.
Yeah. As someone that's worked quite a bit in product management and product development, I care.
Well, and Michael, I don't know if you're just having a rough day, and if you are, we all love you here. We're glad you're here to listening to us, and you do matter. So if anything's bothering you, hopefully that helps out.
And so do the programmers that made this chat work. They matter too. But they need to do better because we still don't have a repository for super chats.
Yes, on the StreamYard side of things, they definitely need to do better.
Yeah. I'd love to be able to see a sticker. I'd love for the stickers to show up in StreamYards. That'd be super.
And speaking of super chats, do we have some other classic ones?
Yeah, I do. MJ1 Media wonders, did your super chat get overlooked or did YouTube not show it? We'll just pay attention because we haven't gotten through them all just yet, and we've done them wildly out of order and everything.
Andre loves to do them out of order.
No, I don't love it. I do it out of necessity.
I know, it's being sarcastic there.
I can't stand doing them out of order. It's like difficult to look for them on screen and stuff. But hey,
but that's just the way it works.
Sometimes it feels like that. But back to the classic super chat. So just pay attention, MJ1 Media, because we might get to yours very soon.
I do remember seeing it pop up a while ago. So hopefully we'll get to it here shortly.
Yeah. And then we have, let's see. Oh, yeah, actually, Michael Dixon. He says, what happened? I'm clueless. First watcher. Well, you're less clueless since the first time or since then. And then Pixel Supreme said for 10 Swiss franc. Hail Midnight's Edge and our lovely guests, Mandy and Kamran. Bit late tonight, but still going to enjoy the interesting insights. Oh, thank you, and I hope you did enjoy. And Augie Ben Doggy wonders, Tennessee, Mandy? Knowing accents is an art.
Knowing accents is an art?
Yeah. So, well, as knowing, like being able to recognize accents is an art. So he wonders, Mandy, are you from Tennessee?
I am not from Tennessee. You gotta go a little bit more south. A little bit more south for this. I'm Georgia, love bug.
Yeah.
Georgia. Yeah.
Awesome. And then Work in Progress said, I like potatoes, mashed, roasted, boiled, etc.
Mash, boil them, put them in a stew. Mash them, boil them, put them in a stew.
You can do everything with potatoes. You can even make hard liquor out of them and drink them.
You can also power a clock with potatoes.
Yeah.
So nice potatoes. We like it raw.
Tom knew what I was talking about. Yay.
And then Darius Münchhausen sent us a $1.49 super sticker of popcorn. So thanks so much for that. Then let's see. Xenobit said for $5. I got this really cool idea for Friday the 13th, part 10. Wouldn't it be cool if it was set in the future and in outer space? Yeah, that sounds like a movie that's going to be really bad, but at the same time,
did you invent a time machine and accidentally travel into the future? Because, you go back and do that, or because,
Oh, Xenobit ain't done. He also said, I got this really cool idea for Leprechaun 4. Wouldn't it be cool if it was set in the future and in outer space?
Let me give you an idea for Hellraiser 4.
You're getting ahead of yourself, because he also said, I got this really cool idea for Critters 4. Wouldn't it be cool if it was set in the future and in outer space?
I'm liking all of these ideas. I like where these are going.
He's onto something.
He is. Yeah, he is definitely onto something.
I got this really cool idea for Hellraiser 4. Never mind. I'm ruining my slasher flicks.
You know what? Keep doing that, but then let's bring it back with Fast and the Furious.
Yeah, and then he also concludes with profit supersedes agenda when you run out of cash. So yeah, thank you, Sino.
I think he's a time traveler.
Yeah. And Lugnuts6 says, to all of Midnight's Edge, you rock and keep up the great work. Oh, thank you. We are indeed going to. Dolben says, jumping fence legal, through checkpoint illegal. Yeah, so don't jump fences, I guess. And then we have, oh, here we got it, MJ1 Media. We got it here. Said, hardcore pornosaur, who's sneaking into my harem? With that, I think we are mostly caught up here. Just give me
we had a
second
couple I can bring up on screen while you're doing
Oh
that.
my god.
Yeah, do that to get up the ones on screen.
Well, there's two here we've got that we can bring up. I know there's at least one or two we missed, though, I think. Missing Formed says, your thoughts on who will be the new Black Panther? Shiri will be the new Black Panther. I think they already said that, didn't they?
Yeah, Mandy, do you have any thoughts on that?
That's what I heard too, and that's who I think it's going to be as well.
I mean, I hope to God they don't kill T'Challa off screen or something like that. That would be really distasteful.
That would be so.
It'll be curious to see how it goes. Script Doctor?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I think it'll be Shuri. I don't think that they're going to do anything crazy. I think it'd be taboo for Marvel to try and either recast T'Challa or do some other thing. I think it's just safer to go with Shuri for them from their perspective.
I think so.
I don't even think they should do it. That was I still hold on to that opinion.
I don't think this is a good idea either, but you know.
I think they should have left it alone for a while. They should have just set it up that he's off doing other things.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually you can kind of come back to that world and
let everybody have
let
everybody have time, because Chadwick was so beloved, and I think there are still a lot of people that are mourning him, and I think it's too soon for a new Black Panther movie. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, and it's a little different than when they recast Rhodey or what's his face as the Hulk when Mark Ruffalo came on board.
Ed Norton to Ruffalo. Norton. And also, I have to say on that note, to those that think that Disney's response to the Sarah to the Black Widow lawsuit was misogynistic, you should have seen Marvel and Kevin Feige's response or not even response, but public comment to Ed Norton when they fired him. Anyone, you all remember that? What they said then?
He can go suck a dick.
Pretty much. They said they said in the official statement that I don't recall the exact words, but it was something along the lines of that. And this was to the public, where they said that Edward Norton will no longer be working as the Hulk in the Avengers because he is not a team player and a pain in the ass to work with.
Yeah.
But I want to see his cut of the movie, because I heard his cut is better, actually.
I have it.
You do?
Do you?
I do.
Is it good?
I am in possession of the legit Norton cut of the movie. Not a fan edit, but the legit cut, and I can say it is because it has deleted scenes in it which haven't been released anywhere else. You have like all of those deleted scenes which were on the disc. They aren't. Or there are some a couple of scenes in the version of the movie that I have which are not there. Plus, it came to me from someone that was, shall we say, in a position to be familiar with it. Jesus. It is not better.
Oh, okay. Well, now you just like totally deflated me. I'm like,
yeah, no, I was all excited. Now it's like, oh well, okay.
Honestly, the theatrical version is better. The Norton version, it just drags. It's honestly incredibly self-congratulatory. It's like, oh, look at me. I'm so amazing for doing these scenes of sadness that don't really do anything or push the plot forward in any meaningful way. Look at me. It's honestly a bit pretentious.
Oh, no.
damn it. That sucks because I actually liked him a little better as the Hulk because he kind of reminds me of Bigsby, but he's darker. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, the irony is that Ruffalo, he is the one that looks like Bixby, and he was the original choice for that movie. One of the reasons why they went with Mark Ruffalo in the first place was that he was so good at channeling Bill Bixby. He was Marvel's choice in the first place. It was Universal that wanted a bigger role, so they nixed Mark Ruffalo, their wannabe Bixby for the movie, and then they got Ed Norton
I don't
instead.
think Ruffalo
and
looks anything like Bigsby, but okay.
Yeah, I think there is some similarity there, but anyway, so
I was gonna say Norton looks more like Bigsby than. Yeah, that's just.
Well, we're gonna have to agree to disagree on that one. But anyway, it was Universal's choice to bring in Norton, and the irony is that it was in some sense, yeah, Norton he rewrote it, but the original script by Zach Penn was. Again, that predated any particular actor, but it was first developed with Ruffalo in mind. Once they went serious about making it.
Yeah, and I accidentally lost the one super chat I had on screen, so now you're gonna have to go back and get it.
No, we have to do that for
you
others.
Love
as well,
StreamYards, yeah. But there's a couple more we can, but you'll have to go back to those. But while you're grabbing those, Xenobit said aliens are already in the future, so for part 4, we set it even farther in the future. Just wait till I get started on Highlander.
Oh, God.
Xenobit, boy, we got to have a talk.
I'm loving everything you're saying,
If
Xenobit.
you have a time machine, then we really got to talk. Let's play, and your countryman comes in with I love what Wonder Woman is graceful and elegant lady. Comics was read by us GIs in World War II. Vis-a-vis Captain Marvel is a needy, self-centered narcissist.
Yeah, vis-a-vis means opposite. It's a French term, actually.
Yes,
so basically, it's contra. So it's like a contrasting the elegant Wonder Woman who was read by US GIs in World War II, contra the needy, self-centered narcissist that is Captain Marvel. And yeah, that is quite a stunning separation and difference between the two right there. It's no wonder the audience were caught more by one than by the other. So it'll be interesting to see how long that lasts, though. And Goskar Farlat says, for $20, thank you so much. I like Okoye or M'Baku as Black Panther more than Shuri. And yeah, there's many good reasons for both of that, but ultimately it's what Kevin Feige likes. That's what's going to happen. So let's hope that he likes the right thing, because that's a property it's going to be very easy to mess up completely. Yeah. And then, not a super chat, but I think it's a good question, and I just happened to see it. Brian Barth wonders, hey, Tom and Andre, but I'm going to include Mandy and Script into this. Do you think the upcoming The Batman will be any good? Mandy, Robert Pattinson's Batman, do you think it's going to blow us all away?
You know, I don't think it's going to be any worse than what the past few that we've seen, to be honest. I know it's Robert Pattinson. I know everybody's like, oh, he's the Twilight vampire. But I remember when we had, what's his name, play the Joker, the guy from... yes, and everybody was saying the same thing. He's not going to do good. And he ended up, in my opinion, being one of the best we've ever seen, right, as far as that character goes. I'm giving it a chance. I'm going into it with fingers crossed, with a grain of sand at the same time. I think it's got a chance. I think it has a chance of being good. I want to see what Robert Pattinson can do when he's not playing a sparkly vampire. Plus, I mean, I heard he did bone a girl on the Batmobile. That's pretty cool to me.
That's been debunked.
I know, but don't tell me that. Every time somebody tells me, I'm going to keep saying it because it's cool, and I want to believe that. Y'all just keep reading it for me.
That is his single greatest claim to fame was nailing Catwoman on the Bathood of the Batmobile. We run with that rumor with great glee, But by all indications, it was bunk. It was
total bullshit.
Yeah,
but I don't,
so he doesn't have that cool thing that he had going for him. That didn't happen.
Zoe Kravitz is a guy with a little bit of girth, and Pattinson's clearly not that.
No, I'm hoping they CGI him up, because I did hear he wouldn't exercise for the role. Like, he wouldn't go to the gym and get in shape. Like, he was like, no, I want to be scrawny. So I don't know. I'm fingers crossed. It might be good. It's probably not, but it might.
Yeah.
We'll have to see.
Script. What do you think?
Well, Robert Pattinson is a good actor. It all comes down to what Matt Reeves is doing with the character. I thought the trailer was terrible, and a complete misunderstanding of what Batman is. He's not a guy that loses his temper and cool on a street thug and wastes that much energy. It's just
that's Daredevil.
That. Daredevil.
Thank you.
But to Mandy's point, people had doubts about Heath Ledger. He had a great performance, but he was not the Joker in any iteration I've ever read before that. It was a brand new character that had the name of the Joker, which served the script and the story quite well, I would say. And the only thing that I hated about the comics afterwards is that they copied that influence into the actual Joker, and it's like that's not the Joker. Joker's very calculating. He's very methodical. He just lies about being insane and being chaotic because that's the joke. And also people had huge reservations about Michael Keaton when he was cast as Batman in 88, 89. So we don't know. I was not won over by the trailer. I don't like the idea of Batman having to wear like Iron Man armor or armor of any kind.
I didn't like that either.
What makes Batman Batman is he doesn't need that stuff. It's really just a distraction because he's that good, and that's what's frightening about him. So I do like the cast. I like Jeffrey Wright. Weird that he's playing Gordon, but the guy can do it. Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, interesting choice. Like her, so could do it. Colin Farrell for Penguin, which is weird. I thought Nathan Lane would probably be more appropriate.
Well, yeah, because they make him look like that one dude from Spin City. I can't remember his name, but
oh my gosh, no, you're wrong.
Fox?
No. The guy who was the dumb guy.
The guy who killed Captain Kirk.
No, I can't remember the guy's name. Somebody in the chat will say it.
Yeah. Oh, you mean like the big fat black hair guy?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Him. Oh, yeah. Right.
I even put a picture once in our Meet chat when somebody showed a picture of the Penguin, and I'm like, yeah, it looks like that one guy. And
kind of. But anyway, what I would like to highlight here is that everyone, like, we bring up Heath Ledger and Michael Keaton as the examples where you cast against the type, and everyone was wrong because it worked like a charm. You know why you bring out those two? The reason you bring up those two is because every single other time when you've cast against type and everyone is saying this is going to be a disaster, then the movie comes out and they are proven to be right. It was a disaster. That's what usually happens when you cast against type.
Yeah, typically
that is what happens. You see that this is going to be a disaster, and that's exactly what happens. It is a complete and total disaster, as it was with the Joker after Heath Ledger. People said this is going to be a disaster, and it was even worse than they thought. People said that George Clooney as Batman was going to be a disaster, and it was. Look at the Fantastic Four with basically everyone in that movie. I mean, the media latched onto the fans. They don't want Michael B. Jordan. The big issue was actually what's his face again? The guy who played Mr. Fantastic.
From Whiplash.
Yeah, Whiplash. He was good in
the
that
weird
one.
kid.
Yeah, but he was completely wrong for the role of Mr. Fantastic. And Josh Trank said that, I'm casting Miles Teller. That was the name. I'm casting Miles Teller because he doesn't fit the character, and I want everyone to see, that's what he was going. No, that never happened. He was a complete disaster. He was every bit as bad as everyone knew he was going to be. Same with that 70s doofus who played Venom the first time around.
Yeah,
exactly. Everyone said he's going to be a freaking disaster as Venom, and he was even worse than anyone had anticipated. Most of the time, when you say that that's not going to work, it's going to be a disaster. The 9 times out of 10, that's exactly what ends up happening. Yeah. Keaton and Ledger are the exceptions that prove the rule.
I would even throw Ben Affleck in the exception rule, but
yeah, he's another exception.
Yeah. With Ben Affleck when he was cast.
I didn't like the idea of Ben Affleck getting cast, and he ended up like being good. It was like, okay, he ain't bad.
It's different because he is actually a really good actor. Like, that's kind of why I had no reservations on it.
As soon as I heard him say, "Do you bleed?" I was like, okay.
Yeah. I was like, Batman wouldn't say that. But
I don't care, but it was like, that is badass as shit.
I was like, I can totally see that. So I didn't really mind that.
The better scene was where they introduced Clark to Bruce, and my buddy sitting there at the time hates, and I mean fucking hates, Ben Affleck, right? And he turns to me and he goes, "All right, I'm convinced. He's Bruce Wayne from the animated series. I'm in."
Oh, and then you've got what's his name, who played Lex Luthor, who played that terribly.
Oh yeah, oh my god, like the guy who played
what's his face from
the guy from The Social Network.
Yeah.
I don't care. He's Zuckerberg. I don't give a shit what his name.
Yeah, exactly.
that fits.
Yeah, everyone thought it was going to be a disaster. Not only was it a disaster, it was worse than anyone thought. Same with the guy playing the Flash in that movie. Ezra Miller. Everyone thought that was going to be a disaster, and it was even worse than anyone could possibly imagine.
Yep.
No, and you're right, Andre. Everybody always brings up those points, and that always brings me to my point, though. If you want me to continue, unless you
go on.
Well, and as I always say, look, this was Pattinson, and this kind of goes back to when he said, "I don't want to work out and sends a bad president." This is what I keep saying about it. He is fucking up his only shot at getting out from underneath the sparkly spotlight.
Yeah.
This is it. Like, yeah, he was in Tenet, but guess what? Nobody went to fucking see Tenet. Okay.
And this was a pretentious piece of crap movie.
And that's the other thing is, and I know some of the people in the chat have seen his other movies, but guess what? Nobody else has seen his movies about gay cowboys eating pudding that are black and white. Nobody else has seen them. So the majority of the general public, he is still Edward Sparkle Pants. This is his one shot to get out from underneath that. And he's going to fuck it up, I think. I hope I'm wrong.
Here's the other aspect to it too.
I don't know.
Well, here's the other aspect too that you can actually track with it when it comes to people who play Batman. The ones that have the most prominence, aside from the exception being Christian Bale, have done comedies and done them well. Adam West, Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer, George Clooney may not like too much, but he can do it. Ben Affleck has done comedy roles.
Same thing with Val Kilmer. Yeah, like you said, Val Kilmer. Yeah. No, but like that's the thing is Keaton wasn't cast because of his size or anything else. Tim Burton cast him because he knew he could crazy. He knew he could play crazy. That's why he cast him. It had nothing to do with that's why he has to have the bat suit is because he's not the toughest guy in the world. You know, he wasn't playing that version of Batman. He was playing the crazy nutcase version.
Yeah, the toughest guy in the world. That was Ben Affleck, and he was totally convincing as that. Goscar Farlat also says, "What? When I heard it was Ben Affleck, I knew he would nail it. Come on, Ben is a great actor." You're not wrong.
I was in the same boat.
Loads
there was
of
a lot of people that weren't.
Yeah, and to this day, Ben Affleck, he is my favorite Batman and Bruce Wayne. I'm not saying that he's been in the best movies, but if you just take the actor and the outfit out of the movie, and you disregard the Justice League version or the Justice League, he's still my favorite on-screen Batman to date. If only if you could like genetically splice him into Batman Begins and The Dark Knight.
I agree with you.
Would that be?
I know that's the one thing I'm hoping does come to fruition one day is we actually get to see Ben Affleck properly play Batman in his own story.
Yeah, or I have a challenge to the deep fakers. Come on, deep fake Ben Affleck into Batman Begins.
Yeah.
And his suit.
I was going to say, you have to get away with, because that's the one thing I hate most of all with Batman Begins is besides...
The suit is so crap.
Besides the fact that Christian Bale is probably my least favorite Batman, and I know I'm going to get a lot of shit for that in the chat.
No, I'm in the same boat as you. He would have been a better Two-Face.
The fucking suit. The suit is horrible.
You know how long it takes to put on that suit? He can never be Batman. It takes like hours to put that suit on.
I can't remember, but did they add the nipples to it?
No.
Had they done that since Schumacher was the one that did that, right?
Yeah, that was just Schumacher. Yeah. Just Schumacher. Everyone got nipples, apart from Batgirl, of course. Can't have that.
No, I hated all the costumes, basically, except for the 89 Batman costume, which for me is the top of most of the pop of most.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Batman Returns is probably a close second because it's similar, but it's that Art Deco style.
It's a little thinner, too. It was lighter.
Yeah, it's lighter.
The cowl was way sleeker.
The worst was the toy suit in Batman and Robin.
And then there's shit again up until Batman v Superman, because then Ben Affleck actually because I used to hate that costume. I hated the Miller costume until I saw Ben Affleck in it, and I'm like, all right, now I can see it. Because I normally don't like when they blend the bat in with the background. I always liked the yellow behind the bat. To me makes Batman. But
I agree. I also like that too. But I'm willing to say that for the suit used in Batman v Superman, my God, what an epic outfit!
Val Kilmer's standard suit wasn't too bad either. Like the one that was just the black suit, just the standard one before he got into all the toyetic suits. That's when they started going overboard.
Yeah. But anyway, just to summarize that, because I didn't get to chime in, do I think that Robert Pattinson is going to be awesome? I will say the same thing that I said the moment that he was cast. I actually have just as big reservations about the director as I do the actor. This is when people say, did I not see the Planet of the Apes movies by the same director? And yes, I did, and I hated them. So
which I just cannot understand, man.
So yeah, as I've always said, maybe it's gonna be the best movie ever. I will be very happy to admit if that is the case, but until such time, I remain unconvinced.
Yeah, and I'll say this about the Planet of the Apes: how can you not that? Aside from like, I can think of very few like reboots where they actually did it right, and that was one of them. And his movies were better than the first one and actually got better as they went along, in my opinion. Like, to me, the third one's the best of all. And I found out when Andre wasn't a fan of these, because normally we don't do a lot of reviews unless we get to see something early, or we just do a roundtable after the fact. But that was one of the cases where I actually got to see an early screening of the movie, and Andre could give a shit less. Like, but I'm going to get to see it early. He's like, so?
Yeah, like, what do you want, a medal?
I'm with you, Andre. I'm not a fan of those either.
A mainstream review, because that's his thing. As long as we can get the review in before the movie comes out, because I was going to get to see it early, and he's like, "No, not really." My heart was broken, but it was a good experience. So I got to see.
I'm sure you broke it much more when you saw my review of your Turtles thing.
That was worse. That I still question about you. I have to still have nightmares about that. How could you like that movie?
Moving on, we have a few more super chats here.
Rob Altus cannot be hearing this. He just can't. No.
Well, you have to cover us here then. Jesus Davila sent us $6.66. With a thumbs up and a smiley, so thanks for that. And then we had Ishan Kumar, who says for 200 Indian rupees. Maybe it's Ishan Kumar. If I mispronounced it, I regret, my friend.
Well, if anybody's going to pronounce it correctly, it's you.
But he said, just finished watching the Luke Skywalker Mando making of. There were moments when praise was being heaped on KK, which kind of lines up with what Kamran has said about how they may deal with her exit. And yeah, we spoke about that earlier in the program. So that was all part of the narrative, and also maintaining one's career. It would be very cool if Kamran were to say in a documentary that is to be released to the public, oh, she was a total bitch. We had to hide everything away from her. I'm glad she's gone. It would be very cool and refreshing to hear that, but that's never going to happen. Sad as it may be. And then Michael Dixon said for $2, do better. I will with the Cat AI log program. All right, we look forward to seeing that. And then we have Xenobit. He has a question for Andre. Do Nordic people like refrigerators? And the answer of that is yes, we do. While the outside temperature actually can be warmer than the refrigerators at wintertime, in summer we still like our milk cold. We also like to keep our beer cold. So yeah, we do keep and we do like our refrigerators for that. Michael Dixon says, Int 13H, we built the internet. Don't forget us.
We'll try not to.
Yeah, we'll try not to. Yeah.
I shall not.
And Xenobit, he has a message for Mandy. They're taking the hobbits to Isengard.
And then they're going into the future and then into space.
I trust that this will make sense to you. So.
They're taking the hobbits to Isengard.
Yeah.
We shall go into the future and then to space.
Hobbits
in space.
To go to space. Why don't we just go to space now?
I don't know. I'm just going by his formula. It seems to work. I like his formula. I'm just going with it.
And we could never forget about you, Six. And I know
no, of course not. I mean, Six has been really helpful, providing links and everything like that, including to Mandy's campaign. So that's brilliant. Yeah. And double back again, he agrees with me that beer is best served cold.
That's true.
Yeah,
that is true. Or unless you have a keg, because that's the only way I'll drink beer is if I can do a keg stand to do it.
Well, that's ironic, see, because, women are always into six-packs, but I'm like, well, I don't have a six-pack, but I do have a keg.
So. Ooh. Nice,
I don't know that we have kegs like that in Norway, actually.
You don't? You don't have, like, the big metal where you pump them and you don't have those?
Well, you probably can get them in, like, special stores and stuff, but not normally, no. Normally, you have, like, your ordinary six-pack, and instead of, like, having a whole keg, we have, like, 4 or 5 six-packs.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, how do you do keg stands?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you don't have beer on tap and do keg stands and stuff?
No. Wow. Of course, we have like beer on tap, obviously, but that we typically have like you get like out and you get it straight from the tap at like the bar and pub and stuff like that. At like a kitchen party or something, you're gonna be downing those six-packs. And of course, yeah, some people can like get like kegs from specialty stores, I guess. From like, no, I've never seen it myself. Like in my time in parties.
Oh, here in the US, they're the centerpiece of a party.
I learned that in Freddy versus Jason.
Okay, yeah, okay. So you've seen it at least. I was going to say it's popular in films. I mean, you had to have seen at least one of the American Pies or something.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. No. In Norway, we have like a different tradition. It's called grøftefyll. I do not expect.
Sounds like something you do in a German porn.
Well, you're not completely wrong. Grøftefyll, that roughly translates to finding a dike in the road and getting so drunk that you pass out in that dike. That's what grøftefyll is. That's a Norwegian tradition. And you do not need the keg to do that. You can do it perfectly well with six-packs, as long as they're cold and you have enough of them.
Oh my goodness.
I'm not even going to go there.
No, me neither.
Because it has two meanings here, so.
Yeah. And also, of course, that's why we go to Sweden, because there the prices of alcohol are like lower. So we go to like either Sweden and Denmark and make sure that we actually do have enough of those six-packs.
Nice.
And we have Matt Vader hailing from the Salty Nerd podcast in chat.
Hi.
Yeah, and he obviously disapproves of Scandinavian drinking traditions, but that's how it is. Like we make do with the six-packs. So yeah.
And as Sailor Sonic says, moving on.
Exactly. Moving on. Let's see. with what we have
Updating
of super chats here.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm just going to update because I think we are mostly
but I
here.
think there's like 2 or 3 we may have missed. So
yeah, we may have. So let's see. No, we are actually, unless I forgot something. If someone feel that some super chat has been missed, then let us know. And Gran Wasu 42 wonders, Sweden has cheaper beer than Norway. WTF? Yes, Sweden has the much cheaper beer than in Norway. Here's how it goes. In Norway, for cheaper beer, we go to Sweden. In Sweden, for cheaper beer, they go to Denmark. In Denmark, for cheaper beer, they go to Germany. Whereas in Germany, they go to Poland. So everyone travels for cheaper beer. And with that, awesome. let us leave the after dark discussion and resume to programming. So
I was going to say, yeah, this is definitely an after dark discussion, but I feel like Mark does in that video. Mr. T-Punk coming in with a super sticker. Thank you so much for the support. You don't have to do that, though. You do so much work for us. So thank you to you and all of the wrenches. I know Six is hanging out in the chat. I think Arn was here earlier. I don't know if anybody else is, but thank you so much for helping us out, wrenches. You do so much for us, and we do so little for you. And, of course, you guys listening, if you guys weren't here, then we'd be talking to ourselves. And, yeah. What are you laughing at?
You, freaking you, of course. And then when we get the official made, because I
swear you're the only person who sometimes gets my sense of humor.
I get it. I get you, Tom. Don't worry, I got you.
This is why we keep saying, if you leave us alone, we're going to wind up in jail. It's just
it's inevitable. We will one day meet up, and somebody's going to have to bail us out. It's guaranteed.
Well, hopefully, your hubby or something like that is responsible, because.
And
if Jesse Miller's there, we're really in fucking trouble.
We're bad off then. We're really bad off then.
He went to ET the Ride today. I guess he said that he was too high to do that. So I don't know if you're ever too high to see ET the Ride, but hey.
I wouldn't think so, but hey.
I hope he's having fun on his vacation though.
Yes.
Did he find any 70s bushes in that ET Ride?
Well, it was 82 when that movie came out. That's possible.
Yeah. They still had bushes in 82.
They did.
And then we actually got we got a couple more in the end here. Nicholas Horton sent us a £2 super sticker, so thanks so much for that. And Adam Wofford says for $5. So Europe is like Oklahoma on Saturday night, when everyone is running around for cheaper beer and free beer on ladies' night. Actually, yes, I haven't had the pleasure of being out in Oklahoma on a Saturday night. I do have to admit that. But based on your description, yeah, it kind of seems like that. Like everyone is chasing a deal on beer in Europe too.
Like the week before payday.
And then we have Paulus Plain. He corrects my translation. It says, means passing out in a ditch. Yes, that's the proud Norwegian tradition of grøftefyll, being so drunk that you pass out in a nearby ditch.
That sounds fun.
Oh,
unless there's an ant bed, then it's not fun.
Yeah, that depends on what time of year you choose to do it.
True enough. True, and how much clothes you still have on when it happens.
Yeah, that's also tied in with what time of year it may be. So
you don't really want to pass out in a dike here either, because a dike here is like a big water reservoir. And the other one I'm not going to say. So
no,
that's why I try to emphasize that when I refer to dike, I do mean the type of the landscape. And not the one of the orange is the new black category.
I mean, they're ditch-like. They're ditch-like. I will say that much, I guess. But the other one I'm not going to speak on. I'm staying away from that one. Not touching.
Oh, my gosh. Okay. I got a little teary-eyed on that one. Sorry.
I already get enough for some of my jokes. I'm leaving that one alone. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and John Ansel also says pub crawl is a must. Yeah, I agree. Pub crawls are hilarious, especially in Norway. During pub crawls here, actually, you stay far away from the six packs. That's when you really go for straight from the tap and everything. But in Norway, you better have the budget ready for it. So yeah.
And then, of course, there's the only other dyke, Dick Van Dyke.
I always thought he had I always thought he had a funny name.
I used to have a crush on him.
You know, I got to give Disney credit for at least going to him for, like, consultation on the WandaVision thing. I didn't really care for the show, but I got to give him credit for all that stuff because, you know, I watched Bumblebee the other day, Andre, and one thing that drove me nuts was all the anachronisms. I could not tell you when that movie's supposed to take place.
Yeah, it's weird, eh?
It's like 1 minute it's 83, the next minute it's 89. It's like, am I watching the fucking Goldbergs or what?
Well, it's still produced by that idiot Lorenzo di Bonaventura, and to him it was like, well, the 80s was like back in the day, and like who really cares?
I mean, honestly, I think some of those songs were even 90s songs, to be honest with you. But yeah. I mean, you go from one moment, it's like, okay, this is clearly like early 80s. And then all of a sudden you got like, I got Rickrolled in the middle of the movie. I'm like, that was definitely 89 or 88 at least. I'm like, we're getting in the late 80s here. And then there was like a song or two from I swear it had to be from like 90. But anyhow, it was just like, that was the only thing that really drove me nuts about it. I'm like, there's anachronisms all over the fucking place in this thing. Because they don't even tell you when it's supposed to take place on top of it all. So at least if they did, I missed it.
Oh, wow.
I must have missed it then because I'm like, did they tell us when this happened?
I don't recall. I haven't seen it
it's supposed to imply that it's 1984, but it's clearly not.
The fuck it is. I was alive then, okay? I know. I didn't get Rickrolled until at least I want to say 88. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I'm thinking I still say summer of 89. That was a big song.
I want to say 89 because of my.
I know for some reason
I remember it playing on the radio, and so I'm going to say 89.
I think it was before. I'm checking it up right now. I think it must have been before that.
You think?
It could have been a bigger hit.
Yeah. No. I think it was before 87.
Was it 87?
No.
Yes. I remember. You know why I remember that?
It's still an anachronism.
I remember that very specifically because in Norway, as I said in our Masters of the Universe wake, we got like He-Man and everything like that when we suddenly got the Sky Channel in from the UK. Prior to that, we had exactly 3 channels in Norway. One was the Norwegian state channel, which wasn't great. And then we also got the 2 Swedish state channel, which were even worse. So that's what we got. And then suddenly, out of the blue, one day, Sky Channel with like proper Western entertainment rather than homebrew and children's programming straight from Soviet Russia and Soviet Ukraine and stuff like that. I kid you not, that's what we got. Like the only thing that we got from like the West was like Postman Pat, because he was a good worker, good values. Fireman Sam, another good worker. Thomas the Tank Engine, good worker. Only thing we got from America were Fraggle Rock. You know why? They were good socialists.
Socialists, yeah.
And then suddenly we got like Sky Channel with He-Man and stuff like that. That blew my generation away. Yeah. But those a few years older than me, they were blown away by the music videos. And the biggest of them all was Rick Astley's "Never Gonna Get You Up." I'll give you up. And I remember that was way earlier than 89. I was even think it was like before then. But yeah, 87, that seems about right. So it came in 87.
That's correct. I would have been like 3 or 4.
Well,
like, but I remember watching it like
they
on
brought
TV.
Up Elf, like I don't know how many dozen times.
Elf, like the movie Elf,
the show Elf.
Oh, the show Elf,
and that
Alf,
very, very late 86.
Yeah.
That was. I remember that too because he always tried to eat the cats, and it made me cry.
Peter Gilmore points out that we missed it here.
Oh no!
Paulie got like, oh no! Okay. Oh, we have
Oh, no.
He hasn't tried to get a hold. Has he tried to get a hold of me yet?
I have to check here, but yeah, oh no,
No,
I
he
hope
hasn't
that's
bothered me
sorted out. I think YouTube are like trying to implement like some two-step security thing like that.
I think they are. They've been doing a lot of funky stuff over on YouTube.
But what I meant to highlight before it came out was Peter Gilmore said we used to get those Eastern European cartoons. They were messed up. Yeah, they were, and you haven't even seen the Nordic ones, the ones that we made here. I mean, I should show them in a membership stream or something. Some of those were proper nightmare-inducing.
Wow.
And Red Cannon says that Postman Pat had a drugs racket on the side. There's like the fun thing, like the city of where Postman Pat is. For those that for those that have seen, I don't guess I imagine that not too many in America have seen Postman Pat. But that's like this Welsh puppetry series of a postman that goes around Wales. And what's funny? All the kids in the village, they look like him. They have his features.
That's true. I used to watch that as a little kid.
That's weird.
So that's like one of the cool things there. And Nicholas Horton says that Sky TV does pick up most of the rights for all American shows. Yes, and we in Norway are eternally grateful for it because they opened so many eyes back in the 80s. And Mecca J says, you guys must have been rickrolled back then, Andre. I wouldn't say no. I wouldn't say so. Again, I was too young to think much of it. I remember it. But honestly, for the kids older than me, those that were teens at the time, they were as mind blown by that as I was by He-Man. Because again, they had never seen or heard anything like it.
That's awesome.
And Jonathan Jace, Jace, my fellow countryman, says, yeah, that's so damn true. I don't know what you're referring to, but yeah, all of it. It's all true. It's all horrible.
It's all true. It's all true. If Andre says it, it's true.
And then the Tina Bojan says, want to laugh? Search for Barry Manilow's rendition of Never Gonna Get You Up. Oh, that should be fun.
Lord, Barry Manilow did it. Oh, goodness.
Yeah. And Nicholas Horton, he even posted a theme. Postman Pat. I've never heard it in English, actually. Postman Pat and his little black cat. But I do know it in Norwegian, because that we had dubbed it in Norwegian. So I actually
Wasn't it a black and white cat? It was a black and white cat he had.
Yes. I remember that from the lyrics in Norwegian. Postman Pat med sin svarte og hvite katt. Yes, with his black and white cat.
Yeah, it was Postman Pat, Postman Pat, Postman Pat, and his black and white cat. Because that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds cute.
Yeah,
it's actually
an adorable. Not that cute. And Ferter says the Postman Pat loved to give special deliveries to bored housewives in Welsh villages.
Yep.
I bet he did.
He had a package for every single one of them.
Yeah, when you look at those kids in that town, what packages they were.
It was a stop motion cartoon.
Yeah. So yeah, it was pretty cool actually. And with that, I do believe that we are mostly caught up here. So with that, again, I would like to say thank you to our esteemed guests for today. That would be Kamran, Mandy, and Script Doctor. It's a pleasure to have all of you on here. I'm going to have your links in the description of the video before long. Until then, what is already in the description is the link to Kamran Pasha's website as well as his Patreon. So do check that out. I highly recommend that you do support that, and you're going to get some amazing Hollywood stories in return. So yes, do check that out. With that, Mandy, what should people check out on your channel? And are there any campaigns or something that people should check out?
Of course. Like what? Yes, guys, please follow me over on Instagram and Twitter at Mandy Summers. Wart the Wizard. You can find me at all those places. Check me out on YouTube. I do have a channel. It's Mandy Summers. Talk about mostly comic books and how crappy everything is, with a speck of me making fun of stuff, because that happens too. Also, I have my book, Jack the Ripper Vampire Hunter, is now available on Indiegogo. It is freaking amazing, you guys. This is the one I am like the most proud of all of my books so far. I'm so proud of this one. So please go and check that out. Check out Blue Bombshell by my other artist, Clint Helinsky. And yeah, my damn weed eater guys back out there. So I'm going to mute again. But thank you guys. I had so much fun, and I love y'all to the moon and back.
And Mr. Tickle Trunk sent us $3 Canadian super sticker, so thanks for that. And Perilous Plane, my Norwegian countryman, points out for 100 krona, Sky Channel 1980s was a Dutch network. Oh, maybe it was Dutch owned. I don't know about that. But by all appearances and DJs like DJ Cat, it was very, very British. And Script Doctor, where can people find you?
For the time being, you can find me over on Twitter, where I will be posting like retweets and links to whatever live streams I'll be showing up, as I am busy with screenwriting work for the time being. Yeah, so just check me out there at Script Doctor PhD. And anytime I'm available and you guys invite me, I'm happy to join Midnight's Edge and Midnight's Edge in the morning. It's great.
Yeah, and we love having you guys on. It's absolutely awesome when you can join us. I know you're both busy, but it's been a great show today. So everyone, please help share it, everything after the fact. Be sure to join us again on Friday. And in the meantime, we'll have at least one scripted video, though I do not know exactly which one yet, because I'm working on 3 scripts simultaneously. So we'll see which one gets made first here.
Awesome.
With that, I do believe, Tom, it is time for some koalas in the rain.
Do you want me to just sing it, Tom?
Koalas in the rain, no fucks given. Koalas